What you are about to see is a real-life story. The accounts have gone into great detail to give each side's version of the scene, an exclusive one we understand. One of the most talked about.
In the world of mysteries, one looms large, the enigma of Flight MH370. The unknown location of this aircraft, coupled with the uncertainty surrounding its disappearance, forms a perplexing puzzle that we, at the PiFi show, are dedicated to unraveling. Our commitment is to scientific integrity and decency, driven by a relentless quest for truth. The memory of the lost individuals and the plight of their families is a poignant reminder of why we persist in this endeavor. Before we delve into theories or ideas, we ensure to distinguish between established science and personal viewpoints diverging from the scientific consensus. So welcome to the show where we continue to explore the unknown, honor the lost, and seek the truth. Hello, Cryshlee and TJ.
Hello.
How are you guys?
I'm doing great.
Great.
Welcome to PiFi number 98.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for excited about it. I think it's going to be a fun show. And I don't know, I have followed both of you for a little while on Twitter. I think you're awesome, and you're the type of people I think I like hanging out with because I feel like you have a certain amount of integrity that you've kind of established for yourself, and those are the people I like hanging out with. So I appreciate you for coming. And what I was hoping to do was have each of you just give a short background on yourself. I think it's important to kind of establish where we're coming from. So if you don't mind, Cryshlee, we'll let you go first and just talk about your background a little bit.
Yeah, and just a heads up, if you hear a plane cruising in the background, I apologize in advance. I live near an airport. But yeah, so some background on me. I've been studying 3D and VFX and everything in this industry for the past maybe 10 or so years. I started while I was in college. I was in art school, and I learned animation. I learned motion tracking. I learned most of the basic skills that you know in VFX. But once I left school, I went to teaching instead of going into the full industry. And instead, I taught middle school students the trade. And then after COVID, unfortunately, there goes the planes I'm talking about. After COVID, we had to end the program, and I went into business for myself. And that's kind of where I'm at now.
That's awesome. And your work kind of stands for itself, I think, from what I see. What about you, TJ?
Sure, yeah. My background is in engineering. I've been working in that field for 17 years now. I've worked in a few different specialties in that field, but primarily mechanical engineering. Prior to that, I've spent just years dabbling in photo editing and flash animation, and kind of as a lot of the web technologies started coming about in the 90s, I just kind of tinkered with all of them, and I continue that on today, messing with AI and GPTs and that kind of thing, and also a bunch of GIS experience. So working with geographical information systems and their data products, and survey and acquisition of that data, and that covers a wide range of tangentially related fields here, since it's a a lot of it was done with UAVs, with underwater um, underwater and overwater drones for subsea subsurface surveying, and some of it was based on satellite altimetry surveying as well. Um, so there's just a lot of little tangents that connect.
I'm probably the only person here that gets excited about GIS. I'm the old guy here. I started. I think I had the first version of AutoCAD in 1984. I was so excited to give it my drawing board, my hand drawing board. But over the years, I've worked probably 15 years in architecture, and the other 30 years. What is that? I think I just completed 45 years in the AEC industry. I used to do a lot of drawings for you guys, people like you, TJ, engineers,
Nice.
over the years, working with building information management, BIM systems, CAD systems. I've probably used every CAD, you can think of, MicroStation, AutoCAD, um, and then I moved into the more of the graphic side of things with SketchUp for the last 16 years. I remember when SketchUp first came out, I was really excited. And so it's a funny thing about the MH370 thing is that I remember specifically the first time I saw the videos, like sometimes, I'm a design build contractor, so I'll take images and I'll put them in the background just as sort of background for 3D models. So for every project I design, that's actually a 3D model that is made, and then we do views. You know how this works. We create views on
Oh yeah.
the two-dimensional sheets. Well, when I first saw the videos, I was like, well, that's kind of cool. They use an image to make the videos. And I didn't. It was just an innocent thought. I didn't realize that the videos were supposed to be serious or real, right? I thought somebody had just made them, you know. So I think when you're people like us, you can kind of intuitively see when you see something like that, you kind of know. I'm not going to say I'm going to say you have intuition, and sometimes it's right. And I think,
Yeah, there's some tells that jump out, definitely.
yeah, things jump out at you. Like I've actually tried to render clouds in the background, and I gave up because it's just too taxing on your hardware, right? Um, I had like 3 or 4 clouds, like 3D clouds in the back of this one project, and it was going to take like 8 hours just to render the animation. I was doing an animation for a Canadian company that makes Quonset buildings, the ones that have the curved metal pieces. And so, anyway, I don't want to spend time on me. What I'm trying to do is demonstrate that the 3 people here have a little experience with CAD and 3D animation and VFX and video editing. So I think this is one thing we can speak on. I'm pretty sure. So one thing I had asked Cryshlee to do, and I knew she has done this many times, but I was being selfish and asked her to do this for my show too, was just to go over the photographs that were used as the background images. And we know that because we've spoken to Jonas. I have personally. I don't know if you guys have.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah,
I have.
Cryshlee has. I tried to get him to come on the show, and obviously he wasn't too keen on that. So if you don't mind, just for posterity, Cryshlee, I appreciate you going over that again. And I'm going to screenshot your images and take over from here.
Sure. So, just to kind of reiterate what you were talking about earlier, when you're doing animations like this, it's not really necessary to, like you said, render out a full volumetric cloud, especially if you can get high quality images to use instead. There's really no difference as long as you place it in relation to where you want your camera to be. A 2D image will work fine, and it's used all the time in this industry. So I do want to demonstrate to you the matching of the clouds. So here is the original raw image. I'll zoom in for you, and I'll scale it out so I can show you how it matches on stream. So I'm going to scale it out so you guys can see the full photo. Here's a full photo in all its quality. Let me bump this up to at least half. If I zoom in, you can see all of the details in the clouds. And this is because it's the original image. Now, if I scale this up and turn down the opacity, you'll see, and again, I'm doing a free transform here. I'm not scaling it uniformly. All that means is that I can scale its width and its length independently of each other. So I do that, and there we go, perfect match. And I just want to kind of highlight the fact that this is not like a coincidence. It's not like a similar cloud. This is the cloud from the background of this footage. And it's not just this photo that matches to multiple, but we'll work with this one for now in the interest of time.
Can I just attest to that a little bit?
Yeah, of course.
Like I was saying earlier, I've tried to import clouds before, just simple clouds, and render them. And there's actually, I don't think mathematically in nature there's any way to reproduce a cloud. So I think anyone that thinks that somehow these clouds were, you know what I mean, that they have to be. I mean, that's our professional opinion, right? TJ, don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's too much detail in these photos. It's also really important to note there's a lot of detail in the original photos that is just not available in the video. It's not visible in the video clearly. And then, these photos were taken over 18 seconds. There's 5 photos in this set. They all overlap a little bit. And between those photos, they show progression of cloud movements and cloud development and movement of waves on the ocean surface below. I mean, there's so much detail in there.
Is this the one that shows Mount Fuji, cryshlee?
Mount Fuji is in the very top, and
Did I lose cryshlee?
Kozushima Island is in the bottom.
Hey, cryshlee, I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. I believe it might be. I don't think it's in this one. I think it might be in this one right here. I see it.
I just thought that was a little funny. I thought it was humorous, but
yeah. This is just another data point in to back up the fact that this is not over Malaysia. It's not over any of the islands. This is definitely 100% over Japan. Let's bump the quality back up. If you zoom in, there is your Mount Fuji in all its glory.
And there's other photos from that same day that show similar cloud cover. I think actually the day that the photo was taken, January 25th, 2012, was actually a notable day in history for Mount Fuji. I think it was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site on that day. So there's actually tons of photos that were taken that day of Mount Fuji.
I'm going to put my article that I've been working on just so people can go to, there's links in there to where the original photographs are if you want to download them. So sorry to interrupt there, cryshlee. Go ahead.
You go. I'm just noodling around.
Those are CRT2 files.
Yes. So did you want me to go into that? Because I can.
I'm sorry. I don't know if you want me to fill in a little time while you're working or just go ahead, please. Sorry.
Okay. So essentially a CR2 or a RAW file comes directly from your camera. It has all of the sensor data from the moment that you captured this photo. It records all of that information into the RAW file. And once you get your raw file into your image editor program, it gives you, I guess we can say extended options maybe, because it has all that information. However, once you then compress that into either you make it part of your composition, like you composite it into a full map, such as this, you lose that extra information that was put into the raw file due to the compression. And the reason why we know that these raw files are legitimate is because you are not able to, it's like trying to unbake a cake. Once you have a fully compressed file, once you have a JPEG or a video, you can't reverse that process, at least not without having some sort of trace. And you won't be able to do it in any believable way. You won't be able to recover that detail because the detail doesn't exist there anymore, if that makes sense. And that's how we can verify that these photos existed before these videos were created. And thus, it kind of stops there. The videos are fake due to this specific reason, along with others, but this one is the main one, I feel.
I don't think a lot of people understand that the camera itself places metadata in the photograph, in the digital photograph. And that's part of the attribute of a raw image file, right? There's even information about any kind of mount you were using, right? There's all kinds of information in there that's placed there by the camera that makes the image, and you can't fake that. So one thing I was hoping to get Jonas to do was to make a video of him showing the images in his camera, which I think would be awesome. I don't know if he still has them in there, but that would be awesome. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure how people don't understand that a CR2 file has metadata attached to it that's assigned to it by the actual camera. So,
some do argue that you can alter metadata, and while that could be true, those are just like text fields. That's not the information of the photo. That has nothing to do with like the exposure settings, the ISO, the shutter speed. You can type that stuff in, but it's not going to be accurate to the photo, especially if you're trying to fake it.
So from my research and from talking to Jonas, he says that the information that's placed there by the camera itself cannot be edited. So I'm not sure. Maybe there may be some metadata that can be changed. I think we're probably talking about two different things, because maybe when you're looking at a file in your file manager on your computer, maybe there's information you can change about it, but there's some information that can't be. That's kind of the whole purpose of having the digital photography. But back in the old days, right, when you had film cameras, you couldn't change the film. You couldn't change the physical film, right? So anyway, I think that sort of mean or method carried through to the digital world. But anyway, go ahead, Krishli. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. So this data here, you could forge it, but it's not going to correlate to the photo itself. So the camera the information from the camera is the genuine data. You can edit these text fields, but it's not going to change anything about the photo because it's not what the camera put into the photo. So right. I believe that's what he meant by the metadata. And people have tried to create.
You can change that information right there, but that's
there's programs where you can.
That's not changing the information that's embedded in the photo.
No, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying.
That's the
it's
point.
Not changing the information.
Exactly. By saying you can change it, you can write over it. May give some people who don't know the impression that you can just fake it, but you can't. There's certain things. I mean, we need that, right? If you take a photograph somewhere and you're using it as evidence in a criminal trial, you need that. Right?
Exactly.
Well, it can be used against you too, I guess. In this case, it's being used for or against the case of whoever's making it. But
and it's so because, and I know that this will come up, which is why I want to address it. Because people can overwrite these things. I want to highlight, again, overwriting this does not change the data that's on the photo. You can stuff a JPEG into a RAW container, but it does not give the detail that was lost when it was originally compressed. So even if you had a RAW and you convert it to a JPEG, as soon as you do that that conversion and it compresses, you lose the data that you were given in the RAW file. So you can't just turn it back. The cake again can't be unbaked. You can overwrite it and you can put in these fields whatever you want, but it's not going to actually correspond. You'll just have a
I mean,
fake.
you can create a new file for your own computer and use it for your own use, but the original file will always be untouched, and the original file will always be the one you use in any sort of litigation or whatever, right?
Yes,
The new file that you edit is going to have a new date on it, and that's going to be the one that you possess. And when you compare that one with the original, you're going to lose every time. So that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. You
yeah.
can,
So the whole argument that someone took these photos from the video and created these highly detailed raw files doesn't hold any water, and I don't think that we should spend any more time on it because it
well,
honestly
I think we've spent the ample amount of time because people need to know that they can create their own version of these images, but that doesn't mean they're altering the original photographs. It's really the
exactly.
point.
I would add one more part to that I think is key to understand, that each image has the quote unquote fingerprint of the sensor data of the camera it was taken from, and several of the images from this set are archived and are available from when they were originally posted in 2012, and they all have the same sensor noise profile. So the idea that they were somehow falsified, fabricated, and stuffed onto the web archive or into Jonas's personal hard drive or textures.com offline storage, that's just not possible here.
Yeah, I mean, any at any time, Jonas could produce the original photographs, and they could be compared against any other photograph you could present, and it would be obvious at that time who is correct. But since we are living on the internet, we can't always do that. So anyway, um, sorry to interject all that, Crishley. I hear so much. I hear so much of, like you're saying, people can just take this image, create new ones, load them up, on a server somewhere, and you know what I mean. And you can do that, but it's not the original photo.
Exactly. It'll never get you back the information that you lost when
Yeah.
you converted it. But yeah, that's really all I have to say on this. If you want me to continue to demonstrate, I can. But I feel like we've proven, like without a doubt, these are the same photos. And that's the other thing. We all agree on both sides of this court. We agree that these photos match, which is
Oh,
why there's that discourse that, oh, they must have been planted.
yeah.
They have not been planted. We've established that they match. They predate the videos. And I feel like we can put that to bed.
Let me just show people where that link is. If you go to that link, you'll see Jonas's original video, and then you'll also see links to the actual original videos. So for the people who are really interested in that kind of thing. Okay. Well, thank you for including that information again. I know you've gone over it many times. But
No, I realize that not everyone knows, so it's important.
I wanted to be able to talk with you about it on this show, And so we had a little segment that TJ was going to do. I'm sorry, did you have anything else right now? I mean, what we're trying to do is kind of alternate back and forth for the audience sake. We're trying to alternate back and forth on some things that we planned out here. So, but I want to make sure Crishley gets her 2 cents worth in on the front end.
No, I think I'm ready to hear TJ's work. I feel like his portion is
okay.
less heard.
So is this your screen, TJ? I think you're muted.
Yep, sorry about that.
Yeah.
So this data we want to review here is a much more recent review of the Inmarsat data, and we'll kind of talk through a little bit about where that came from and what that looks like. So the route that's here comes from another study. I want to reference their work really quick. I'm just going to give me one moment as I bring up their article here. Sorry about that. It's taking me a second to get this loaded. Of course, it wants to crash right now. But anyways, let's run through this, and I'll come back to that in a second. So this route shows MH370 leaving from Kuala Lumpur, and this is the kind of well-known portion that it flew out on its normal flight path, got to about the end of the national airspace of Malaysia, and then signed off. It was supposed to handshake and switch over into air traffic control out of Vietnam, and instead of that happening, the jetliner turned back. So it was tracked on civilian civilian radar, and also on military radar, and it was eventually disclosed that the final military radar ping was of the jetliner somewhere just past this point in Mekar, about 10 nautical miles past, which is about right here. So that's the last radar sighting of it. There's another radar in Indonesia that should have been able to monitor it further, but just that night, that one was reportedly offline. So there's no other measurements for it, or no other data for it. So what they began to rely on from there to start estimating the path was the BTO and BFO, which is burst time offset and burst frequency offset data from the Inmarsat satellite system. So kind of how that works, there's a satellite out here, and these rings are range rings from the satellite, which is in the center here. And so the jetliner was periodically sending a ping, which would be received by that satellite, and it's a so-called handshake log-on attempt that's been discussed before that you may have heard about. And so with the BTO and the BFO data, you can estimate the approximate distance from the satellite with the BTO data, and then the estimated relative motion between the jetliner and the satellite from the BFO data. The BTO ping gives you a pretty accurate range from the satellite to where the jetliner is. The BFO is a little bit more subject to interpretation, because you need prior data points to estimate the relative speed and velocity and heading from that value. So it's possible it's a little harder, but in terms of range, that BTO value gives you a pretty good range. So there was a call placed to the plane right here before it made a turn at this waypoint at Gogu, and that generated a number of BTO and BFO pings, of pairs of pings. So they're pretty confident that it was flying in the straight line on this heading immediately prior to that call. And then the next data point is from much further down here near Bedax.
Can I ask you a quick question? Where does the data come from for the blue line? Is that the Inmarsat?
Yep, that's so it transitions, right about here where it picks up in blue. That's being estimated off of Inmarsat.
Okay, sorry, I was answering a question.
No, that's a great question. Great question, and definitely, ask me more questions here. We'll make sure that we kind of cover this, bring it all home, so to speak. So the report, I finally got it pulled up here. The report that I'm referencing for that route is generally this report here. So this one was produced in March 2020, and then there's an update to it, I think, in I think it was around October 2023, where they made a few updates to it. But generally, it summarizes, you know, the whole thing. You're welcome to read it. We can post up a link to it. I think I've got some links to it on my page if you want to go find it off of Twitter. But it covers, you know, there's a multitude of radar pings from civilian and military radar, and then the pings thin out as you get over here to where it makes the turn. And you'll see the shape is a little bit different than what they estimate, or what they estimate here and show here is a little different than what I have in my Google Earth scene over there. That one is a little bit simplified compared to what's in here. But generally, they show the phone call occurs here, and then the number of pings from there, you know, reduces. So, but
Oh, can I ask you a question about the phone call?
sure.
Is that what's okay? I just in my brain that was not a phone call. It was the good night
So that occurred further back.
radio. That was
So
the
this
radio.
is
That was the radio
right,
call. Yeah.
and
Okay.
that was here around Waypoint Nagari.
What's the
So
phone call? Who's the phone call from?
so they, after the plane went off path and was no longer communicating, transponder off, lots of red flags there. They placed a satellite phone call to the aircraft, and that phone call, which was not answered, that was placed at 1639 UTC, and so it generated a number of pings, and that's the last dense set of data points.
So when you send a call from the satellite, you can get a ping back from the plane, knowing its location.
It gives back a series of BTO and BFO um, returns. So every time it tries to reach out, it tries to establish a communication channel, and so it generates. You know, it's, I guess it would give it like a busy signal. You know, like it would just be replying like not answered, or not picked up, something to that effect.
Oh, on that overall map you just showed, where is that?
Sure, coming
Right
back up
there.
to
I'll
on
go
this one,
right
so
there.
that would
That
be
one.
up here.
Okay, I was trying to get an overall
Overall,
view.
yeah.
It's kind of hard on some of those maps to get an overall view.
Yeah, and so that's the overall, taking off from Malaysia, flies out, turns back, and then turns south. And this in this document, they theorized that the plane was intentionally being flown on boundaries where it would not be detectable by radar.
Hmm.
So that's these boundaries, these dashed blue lines. These are
How would the pilot
combination.
know? How would the pilot have those exact coordinates? I wonder. I guess he would have to.
There's some degree of it that I think you would just, flying in this area as a pilot. I think over time, with years of experience, you would learn some of these things. So that's part of it. The other part of it is that it's kind of unknown, you know, potentially who may have been piloting the plane at this point, and who would have flown it along such a route. Um, you
Is
know,
that
there's
part of what he might have done in the simulator?
I wouldn't want to speculate as to who the pilot was at this time, and exactly how it came to be that it may have flown
Okay,
upon
and I don't
such
know.
a path.
I'm not. I'm
Um,
just asking. I don't. I'm not trying to insinuate anything.
sure, and
I
I
don't
just don't
really
want to
know
I
anything
don't want
about
to
it.
put fuel on a
Just yeah,
fire that
yeah.
you know, that's it's not. What I'm interested in is where the plane went. You know, in terms of why it was flying along that route and how that came to be. That's a speculative step that I think will maybe, you know, if they find the plane at some point and recover a black box, maybe there will be some more information there.
You're saying
Uh,
that someone could have just taken control of the plane theoretically.
yeah, I don't know, possibly commandeered. I mean, again, I don't want to speculate too much. Um,
No, I'm just trying to understand the options.
sure, yeah, I guess if you want to just purely just running through options, you know, um, possibly the plane had been hijacked. There's been some discussion about a potential um, remote control, remote piloting type of capability that might be built into the plane. Again, that's speculative. Um, but there's a few things that I suppose it could have been, but that's not an area. Just to be clear, um, how this plane would have come under control to be piloted along such a route. I don't really have a lot of input in that
Are
area.
those are those actual pings on the blue on those borderlines?
Yeah, I think all of these white circles
over to the
here.
left. Those right angles, are those pings? Those
Yeah, I
little,
believe. Well, no, there some of those are just interpreted values. So they
okay.
have a. I think each of those correspond to a portion of their calculations in their study down here, where they justify how
But
they came up with that
you
ping.
would think that they would already, it would almost have to be radio controlled or remote controlled, or automatic piloted somehow to make those type of that exact path, right? It would be difficult for a pilot to make that exact, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, presumably it was on. I mean, I'm not a airline pilot. I have very limited experience even understanding how you would control an aircraft, but I do understand that there's a lot of controls that can be input on heading. So you would just you would reach a waypoint and you'd program it to where it reaches when it reaches that waypoint,
Mm-hmm.
the aircraft completes a heading change, um, and then so that would be I think something like that is what they would do here.
You certainly wouldn't be able to be under much duress while you were making that kind of path, right? Not with that much detail to make
Yeah,
those
if the
90-degree
jetliner flew
turns.
this path, they were again. I'm not sure that a pilot would have to. Like, I think a pilot could input these waypoints, and the plane would generally fly it without much intervention from the pilot.
Hmm. So how many Inmarsat pings are there altogether? Can we see a map that shows
Yeah.
those?
Let me scroll through here
Or
real quick.
am I interrupting your?
No, no, you're good. You're good. Yeah,
Okay.
I want to cover all this because I think it's important that we go through kind of the background of the Inmarsat data and the pings and what it means. So there's a number of pings. I'll say the ping density is high up to around here before the final turn, and then after the final turn, there's much fewer Inmarsat data pings to be used. I want to say up to here. There's like 50 that occurred at this one phone call, and then after that, I think there's maybe only 11 or 12 more, somewhere in that range. So there's very after that phone call, there's not many. Let me see if I can scroll down here and we can find the listing. The very back of this document, I think it has the listing. Yeah, so the end of flight analysis. This I think is going to have a listing in here.
While you're looking, be thinking about this question. The Inmarsat just receives digital handshakes, right? It doesn't have any ability to take images or anything.
That's right. It's a receiving and transmitting satellite communication system.
Do you know what satellite is supposed to take the images that's claimed to
Um,
take the images?
the claimed it's a pair. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. I want to say it's like USA 184.
Is this the
Um,
Sibers thing that
that would be the
is mentioned?
Sibur satellite. Yeah,
Okay.
this one is not that.
Where does and tell me if I'm getting you off track here. Where does the Sibers information come from? Does that come from an individual, or is that is that a well-known theory, or you know
That
what I mean?
the Are you talking about just the theory that it may have been observed by Sibur satellites?
Yeah, I've never heard that in the official, right, or is it part of
I
the
mean,
official report?
not that I'm aware of. I think the closest thing that there was to a public discussion or mention of it was I think there was a Malaysian official and a U.S. official that kind of said the same thing, that basically the U.S. had shared everything they could share, including what would normally be um, I guess classified information with a particular person who was vetted or whatever, and they shared what they could. So there was a statement, something to that effect made. They don't discuss exactly what it was that they shared. They don't, none of that's out there, but they do basically mention, yeah, we shared everything we know about it.
Crishley, do you know anything about the Sibers? Have you heard? Is that part of the official investigation, or is this something that's been speculated on?
I can't. I don't want to. I would be speculating if I gave you an answer. My main focus is just the VFX aspect.
Oh, I know. I mean, but we can say whether something speculation or part. I mean, we know we have the original, we have the official report, right? So I haven't completely read the official report. So what I'm asking is the Sibers satellite, the supposed imagery taken, because this is the claim, right? The videos that we're talking about, one of them has been claimed to have been taken by the Sibers system, right?
Yeah, and I guess what I would say to that is that I'm not really going to waste any time trying to debunk whether Sibbers could have viewed the plane. I think it's been fairly well demonstrated that it's
I'm just
possible that
asking.
it could have observed. Yeah, no, I get you. I
I
get you.
don't know.
And
That's why
it's a
I'm
good
asking.
discussion point.
I'm
It's a
not.
good discussion
I'm
point.
not. I'm not
Um,
asking pointed questions. I'm asking them because I don't know. All I've
yeah,
ever heard is one side of the story.
yeah.
I haven't
I
heard
think there's
equal time.
validity. I think there's validity to the idea that that system may have been able to observe something. I don't think it would have looked like this. I think there has been some effort to show that this is not that what we see in this quote unquote satellite video is not what it looks like.
I mean, I'm trying to be as objective as possible, but when you've only heard one story for the past 6 months, you sometimes have questions. You question your sanity for one.
Definitely, I think it's
and then
very
and
good
then and
to
then you say,
ask
well,
questions.
am I just believing the only story, or who else is saying whether the Sibbers is a thing or not? I mean, I know the Sibbers is a thing, but when I did my research, there was no in the official report. There's no mention of any satellites that took images. That's all. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying. So
that's
I
true.
think
I
I
mean,
don't know why that's not
it's
fair to
not
say.
mentioned.
Yeah.
I don't know that that conclusively would say that there's not footage, but I think it's based on what is known about Sibbers. I think in all likelihood, if there is some data on the plane or footage of the plane on the Sibbers system or that was recorded with the Sibbers system, it's probably not very clear. And it's very difficult to make out exactly what you're seeing.
I feel like I can't even ask questions.
Oh, definitely ask questions.
everybody's so everybody's so
I don't want to
uptight.
speculate
Everybody's
too
so
much.
uptight about
No.
this situation
Well,
that, but
yeah, and I
I
guess
think this is
my
where
thing
we've
is,
come, people. This is where it's come. This is what it's come to, people. People
yeah,
are afraid to even ask questions, for God's sake.
there's a good discussion to
Yeah,
be had there. I just don't want to.
yeah.
I don't
No,
want
it's
to
fine.
speculate too much on it, so I don't want
That's
to.
what I. That's what I wanted to know, though. What if somebody? That's why we're doing this show. If somebody has information, I'd like for them to share it. That's all I'm asking. So
Yeah,
I'm not
I think
claiming to know any of it. That's why I'm asking the
Ritter and
questions.
I think Warren have both looked at that information in quite a bit of detail. I don't know if they would want to, maybe kind of discuss with you at another point on that. They
Who
probably have some good background on that. Most of what I've seen has been what they've found in the public domain regarding that system.
I'm surprised our government hasn't come out and said no. This there's why are they so quiet about this whole situation? So anyway, sorry I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, no worries,
I
no
just
worries.
I do.
Go ahead.
Can I just interject a little bit?
yes, please
Has
do.
anyone asked about this?
Specifically to like Department of Defense personnel or something.
Who are the pertinent people that you would ask about something like this?
Well,
CIA or
I heard there was a FOIA request for any possible footage that they may exist of the jetliner taken by U.S. satellites or other, you know, defense observation equipment. Whether they would whether you can actually put a response out on that, and if you have a top secret satellite that has top secret capabilities, I don't think you're going to release any imagery from that ever. So it's just not going to enter the public domain if it's not absolutely necessary. Yeah, I don't think it's going to enter public domain.
yeah, I mean, I'm truly asking questions. I don't have any. If I had prior knowledge, I wouldn't ask a question, right? I wouldn't like ask a loaded question. I'm truly
Sure.
trying to learn. and so I don't see anything wrong with asking the questions. I
No,
mean,
definitely do. I may not have an answer.
tension. I feel tension in the air just
Oh
asking
no,
certain
not from me.
questions.
It's just
No, I mean, I'm talking about coming from the ether,
oh yeah. Oh my God.
not from you or
The
Crishley.
ether's
I'm
got
saying
some dark energy.
we've got some dark energy in here in the
Dark
tiny
energy.
shack just from asking questions. That's kind of funny. I don't know. It's kind of funny in a way, but I don't want to make too much light up, too light of the situation because you had almost 300 people die, and so you know it's kind of crazy. The whole situation is kind of crazy, but on the other hand, it's serious too, right? So
Absolutely. I
anyway, I'm
mean,
sorry. Go ahead with your.
this is a tragedy that it needs to be solved. And you know, the facts are very important. And I think giving credence to some hoax videos, I think that's a very bad place to be. Um, I just I think it's inconsiderate of the families and what they're going through, and um, yeah, that's a it just seems wrong.
Yeah, sorry, I interrupted your.
No, you're good. So looking at this, this is actually the listing of the BTO pings in this time range here, 1620 to 1635. So this is right before that turn south at Igogu, before the phone call. So there's a lateral offset there where the jetliner offsets from the route. And so these are the pings that they use to deduce that happened. And if you keep coming down, this is the BFO values over a similar period, but this one also includes the phone call.
So
So
burst frequency offset, and what was the first one?
burst timing offset.
Burst timing offset. This is from the pings.
Yeah, these are the MRSAT pings.
Okay, so they send a ping and it comes back.
Yep, and you've
And
got a
this,
timing. So this one's a timing, and then
okay,
this one is a frequency offset. So this is the Doppler offset. So it's sent out on a certain frequency, and then it's supposed to be received on, if it's not moving relative to it, then there's going to be zero offset or minimal offset. But if it has a different offset, then you're able to estimate approximately the relative motion of the jetliner from that offset. And so that's what you see here. So the phone call occurred here at 1640, and there's a whole bunch of BFO pings there. That's how they deduce it's going approximately straight at that time, and then it turns kind of right after that, which
why
that
would you
is
have
also
those? Why
interesting.
would you have that group of pings right there?
That's the my understanding, and the way it's explained here is that when that call was made, while it's ringing, it's continually trying to do its handshake, establish a connection, and it keeps getting a no reply signal. So it's getting a no reply return. So during the call, I guess it pings 40 times, so it's pinging so many times per second, something like that.
Hmm.
So that's the last big cluster of BFO values, and then after that, let's see if it's down here. After that, there's um, much fewer pings. I'm not sure if they have another chart like that. But this study is very in depth. They did a very careful look of where they think the plane flew, um, when it made elevation changes, what time, how much fuel it had on board, how much fuel it consumed at varying points in the flight, its estimated
Oh,
speed.
wait, I have a question about that.
Sure.
Are you saying this is what I was asking one night in one of our work sessions? Maybe you weren't there. I was asking where did the path of the plane come from for the supposed videos? Where, in other words, can you take that? I didn't. That
Yeah, so
chart
that's
has the
kind of
elevation.
that's the next logical step from here. So we have this data, the BFO BTO data, MRSAT data, the shore-based radar, the military radar, and we have its values, and it suggests it went through one place. Now, when we look in the satellite video, the hoax satellite video, um, you could read the points from the bottom, and you can plot those. And if you do, you're going to get something about like this. So the first view coordinate is this point here, and then reading each separate point from the 7 views that it has, you'll see. Just get some markers up on here. So you'll see these coordinates. It shifts every time. And this, if you plot it out, it's approximately this. Like this point's not quite in a straight line, but I've probably got a decimal place wrong there. But these first two are generally pretty well agreed in terms of the latitude and longitude.
Can you back out slowly and show us how that relates to the actual or the official Inmarsat pings?
So that's the approximate route of satellite data there, and then this is your estimated Inmarsat route here. So the importance there is that based on the Inmarsat data, the jetliner never went to those hoax coordinates, never made it there. So it turned south. I think the supposed timeline that's associated with these videos that's been put forth is that somewhere around 1645 or 1650 the plane vanishes into a portal as it's being followed by 3 orbs. The Inmarsat data says at 1640 it was here making a turn, and it turned south.
Can you slowly zoom in again and show us where the videos show?
Yeah.
So,
and then there's also another significant point to this. The Inmarsat data, those pings were released on May 27th, 2014. And so a lot of times you'll hear this argument that how could the hoax video have been made based on coordinates, or based on a location that was only known on May 28th. The video was published on May 19th, 2014. The simple fact is it never went to those coordinates that were released on, or there were no coordinates released on the 27th, just BTO and BFO values. And those BTO and BFO values show the plane turning south. So that Inmarsat telemetry never shows the jetliner going to the hoax location.
what
There
is
was
that
another
white line? Is that some sort of international date line, or what is that? Oh, there's an alternate path right there. What that?
Yeah, that's just a very rough kind of. I think this is just a measurement that I had done, so we can probably
Okay.
take that off. But
Yeah. People will think that that's a possible path or something. Looking at that.
let's see which one of these that is. There you go. Okay. So what is important though, so this path here, this
Oh no.
white one right here, this was actually released in a Google KMZ value or KMZ table on May 14th, 2014. So the argument that there was no data available to use for a hoaxer to use to estimate this location, that's completely wrong. This was published on May 14th. It actually suggests the jetliner went to a location near. This is about 80 nautical miles between these points if you measure. So this is the closest estimate that I've found for the jetliner going near that location.
But where does that data come from?
Let me pull it up really quick. It's a blog that published some information. They were looking at at this whole situation and trying to figure it out. And let's see here. One moment.
That's kind of scary. You said the word blog.
Yep.
Who publishes the blog?
I'll pull it up for you in just a second.
Okay.
Here. I think I was looking for the link. Should have had this one ready. Here we go. So this
By
is
the way, if people in the chat have any questions, you can place them there as long as they're not crazy.
Yeah, definitely ask the questions. So this was posted March 17th, 2014. So the video was published March 19th, or sorry, May 19th, 2014. So a good couple months after this was published. If I had to guess, if a hoaxer was using it, they would have used a source like this, estimating a location out here.
So what's
And
the
there was some,
URL there? Can you zoom in on the URL,
yeah.
or just you can just say it if it's too hard to zoom in?
Let's see, where can we post it? Actually, I'll share the link with you. I'll share the link with
Okay.
you of the stuff in the chat here real quick, and then you can pop that over if you want to.
I just want to make sure. I'm just trying to understand the source and make
Yeah,
sure that
definitely.
I don't want to post hoax sources.
Right. And so this one, I'm going to pull it up right now and way back.
The hoaxers could have created this blog and posted it and then said, "Oh, well, here's our data. This is where the path came from." So
Hold on.
that's why I'm asking, because I don't know where it came from. And again, I mean, sorry to ask, but
no, it's a great question because we want to show what was actually up. So this is fortunately this blog is on the way back, and so you can see it. You can see the archive, and it looks the same. So this is the archive from March 17th, 2014, and you're looking at the same thing.
So you're saying the blog doesn't exist anymore?
No, it's still there. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same today and on the way back.
Okay. I got you. I didn't know if it had disappeared since it was on the way back.
No, still there.
Hmm.
So that's, to me, that's a pretty solid one.
When you say solid,
in terms of this is a solid reference that could have been used. The argument that the quote unquote location wasn't known for a hoaxer to use, that's just incorrect.
we just don't know the source of the data.
Yeah, it's hard to know exactly what source they used, but
I guess my point is that we know the Inmarsat data came from the Inmarsat satellite, right?
From the Inmarsat satellite, and then it was actually published. CNN published it on. Let me see if I can find the link to that. CNN published it on.
I mean, if you had to run a hierarchy of, if you were going to, if you're going to take all the data and you were going to put a hierarchy as far as what was legitimate, the Inmarsat would be above a blog in the hierarchy, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, that's all I'm trying to establish. So,
let me see.
Yeah, I'm glad you got the links though, because later on I'll go find out. Because sometimes you can find out, like, look in the About Us section of the blog, and you can find out who the authors are and what their motives are, and all that kind of stuff.
So this is the what I just posted in your chat there. That is the 47-page log that was released on May 27th, 2014, of the Inmarsat data. So when it's referred to as the 47 quote unquote 47-page report released on May 28th, 2014, showing that the jetliner crossed over the hoax video coordinates, that's the report, and it doesn't show that.
Well, this says it says Google Earth blog, gearthblog.com.
That was the first one. Are you looking at the Twitter link that I
just clicked on your link? It's the one you're showing now with the mapping flight MH370 in Google Earth.
What I'll do is I'll pull this other tab over. So this is the May 27th published file from CNN in 2014 that included the BTO and BFO values.
Okay. All right. Well, I just, I'll try not to belabor my questions too much. I think it's important to talk about sources a little bit. That's all.
Yeah, definitely. And this is, at one point I put a post on Twitter that kind of has all this stuff in it. So I'll put that one up in the chat right now, and that kind of walks through it all. Kind of everything we're covering right now is spelled out. The more key parts of it in a much more condensed manner is in that post. So that's the flight path. You know, Inmarsat data shows the jetliner never went to the hoax coordinates. I think that's probably about all I've got on that one. Unless anyone's got any
I guess
questions, anything else you want to see.
if I'm playing devil's advocate for some crazy reason, and the reason I'm trying to establish the source of the blog path is because it actually could possibly make it. I mean, that could actually be right. And it's a possibility. So that's why I'm trying to establish who. If you go back to the path and you compare and you look at the turn, my first question was related to the orientation of the plane and its path and its altitude in the video, in the hoax videos. So if you zoom in on your location, or the location of where the hoax video shows the plane to be, and you look at the path the plane would have had to take, then it goes out on that path. If you zoom out a little bit, imagine it going out on that path, the blog path I'm calling it, and making that turn right there. You see what I mean? Someone
You're
could
talking
say,
about
"Oh,
the blog path. So
yeah,
this one is the blog path here.
right." So imagine it taking, a westerly turn there, and just making its way around to that point. You see, that's why I'm trying to establish the source of that blog path, because you could easily say that the plane made its way to the location of the hoax videos. Does that make sense?
Well, you could say it based on the incorrect information in that blog, but you can't say it based off of the Inmarsat data. So this, you can go and look at the reference data that they used to come up with this KML file back in May or March 17th, 2014, and you can see their references, and it's not, it's not really founded. I mean, this is their, this is part of their listing right here. I don't know if this is even
No,
going to load.
I'm with you. That's why I'm curious about the source of the blog.
So
That's all.
they here you can see one of the things that looks like they did is they just pulled some of this, just the imagery that was posted on various news sources. So
I mean, it's obvious that whoever made the videos had to have some data to legitimize the videos, right? So they needed some coordinates to place in the video. So why not, right? So
yeah, this one is close enough where somebody would look at
why
it
not create
and
your own
think,
path?
oh yeah, that probably would work.
Why not create your own path and create your own blog and post it? I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying people's minds wander. Mine does all the time. So I warned you about the rabbit holes earlier.
Sure, yeah, well, it's a real thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
this one is actually from even before. This one's from the 16th of March. I think the other one was from the 17th.
So
So
what do
it's
you?
kind of,
I mean, you've read this blog before I have. What do you think about the blog itself? It
I mean,
seems
I think it was people that were honestly trying to find, where the jetliner went. They
the
were
only
trying to document it,
the
and
only thing that's a little shaky to me is it seems like they're trying to spoof Google Earth with the name of the. If you look at the URL, they're trying to kind of insinuate that it's a Google Earth site. So that's the only thing I would. If you look at the
oh
URL,
yeah, this one here, yeah,
yeah, look at the URL. So it's I don't know. I'll have to look into that. But anyway, I don't want to spend. I'm trying not to spend all night on one little thing.
sure. This is one possible source, So if for the argument that there's no source, that's not true. There were possibilities. So that's pretty much what I've got for the final path and Inmarsat. We did have some other stuff we want to look at.
That's
Yeah, and
true.
I see Vincent in the chat there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that,
this would have
that's
been
true.
easy to find. I mean, as easy as I found it. I think I did a Google search on final path of MH370, and that's how I came across it. So
So what is next? I'm sorry. Did you finish that little presentation?
yeah, that's all I've got for the flight path there.
So we had what was this? We had drone, satellite versus orbs. Was that Cryshly?
No, I want to see
No,
if that was TJ.
yeah, I've got. So let me pull up.
We're not forgetting
Now,
about you, Crishley.
yeah, we'll get back
No,
to it
I
for
love
sure.
this part. I like this part a lot.
I the only reason I don't like it is because I'm asking too many questions. So
Oh, it's
just
great. It's great.
here. Let me just say I haven't been involved with this as long as a lot of people. So my questions are earnest. I'm truly trying to learn because I had no idea that there was that path that you showed from the blog, right?
Sure.
So I'm truly trying to learn. I'm not, I'm coming late. I'm late to the party. I'm just trying to learn. So thank you for your patience.
No, yeah, you got it. Absolutely. If you've got questions, then other people are gonna have probably some of the same questions, and that's great. My goal is to try to make sure that there's a solid understanding here. I don't want anyone to be easily hoodwinked or at all feel like you got the wool being pulled over your eyes. I'm sharing the information I found that I used to kind of satisfy my curiosity on the subject. Um, but if this likewise, aside from the questions, if I miss something, I want to see it. I want to understand it and try to answer it and try to make sure that the theory still holds water, so to speak. So what I've got here now, I wanted to run through. I'll just let this play through the first time here. So this is a composition of the two videos, with the drone video on the bottom right, satellite top left, um, and then I've kind of approximated a marker here for about where the drone path probably is and about how it's moving along that path, as well as markers for the approximate movement of the jetliner, just to be able to have a reference kind of for where these objects are relative to each other. And these are lined up. These two videos are lined up based on the zap. So the speed and duration of these is not changed at all relative to each other. This is just from the reference data from the Wayback Archive of the drone video, and I think this is one of the more referenced versions for the satellite video. They're just playing side by side there. And so I've added a frame counter to the bottom left of each and a time counter so you can see what they run, and that's video time. So looking at that, there's a few things that are worth kind of reviewing in further detail. So there's a number of events that occur in the short course of the videos, and one of the claims that's always made is that the videos are in perfect sync without a single frame out of place. And so we'll watch it one more time. So coming in, the first thing we see is the drone comes through and it flies under the path of the jetliner. So it's going below the contrails. So you can see that there. And so this is kind of one of the points to line up just between the two. So in terms of estimating this location, that's about the spot. So the drone is always looking at the jetliner, and at this point we can see the profile of the drone. There's another discussion regarding the drone and what type of drone it is, what type of equipment might have been mounted to video this from some kind of underwing hardpoint. That's another discussion, but generally you can see here, drone is looking straight ahead and the jetliner's in frame. And then the drone's going to start zooming in. And as things progress, you'll see now on the satellite video, you just start to see the first orb coming in. So that's about 15 seconds there. That first orb starts coming in, and it's going to go past the jetliner. So right there, that orb has gone either over or under the field of view of the drone, because it's crossed, what should be within the field of view of the drone. Right here, it looks like it's, in front of and kind of below the jetliner. And so you would estimate if it was at the right elevation, it would have shown up somewhere in this field of view, maybe in this area, in this frame. But it's not there, so presumably it went either above or below.
Now, the scale of these, somebody's going to say, well, it's zoomed in or out. The scale is pretty close, though, right? So you should be able to, when you say you don't see it, you should you think you should be able to see it.
I mean, there's a pretty big field of view in the back there. So
Yeah.
to miss it, it would
I'm
have
looking
to
at the
be,
size of the plane in each one, and they seem to be pretty decent.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
it would have to be, much higher or much lower to be missed, which is possible. That's fine. So the orb goes by, and you can see it here. So this is the last frame before it pops out, or tucks away off frame. You can actually see it kind of stall there. That's kind of an interesting detail. So if you look at the bottom of the frame, and I think that's really more than anything just highlighting the difference in the frame rate between
Can you do
the
that
mouse
again?
pointer and the scene. Yeah,
I was looking at the comments. Sorry.
there's a difference between the frame rate of the mouse pointer and the movement to the field of view and the movement in the satellite video. But right there, it's got the last movement, and then you see 1,
What's your
2,
point? What's your point
3,
about the mouse
4.
pointer?
So the mouse pointer and the field of view, they
Mm-hmm.
move on. I think it's about 24 frames per second.
That's not so. There's not the same mouse. It's not. Are you trying to say it's the same mouse in each video?
No,
Okay,
no,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
just saying that they're not recording on the same device,
There's not a
or
mouse in the
they're not
drone
recording
video.
in the same way. They're
Okay, I gotcha.
they're
I'm
being
sorry.
rendered separately.
Okay, I'm just. Thank you for clarifying.
So the orb goes by, goes into the clouds, and still in the drone video, we don't see the orb coming up. Now we see it coming back out in the satellite video here. You can see the orb is kind of running through here, and it kind of looks like maybe it's in that cloud, and maybe that cloud would be, I don't know, somewhere over here, above or below, who knows? But it's out. It seems to be out of field of view because that orb is going to come out from the cloud right there, and we still don't see the orb on the drone video. So presumably that cloud is out of view wherever it's at. And now, just there, we see the orb show up. And so this is in sync fairly well, the approach to the jetliner. So the orb is approaching on both the satellite video and the drone video. So it approaches kind of under the jetliner at that point, under and kind of to the back. And then it's going to start moving into its orbit. So now it's moved off towards the right side of the jetliner, and it's done about the same in the satellite video. And it's going to start kind of orbiting. Now everything's going to pass out of view in the drone video, but we'll see it there in the satellite video.
Conveniently.
Right.
Sorry.
Now it comes back into field of view finally, right here, and we see them both, and it's orbiting. Now we jumped a little bit there. So right there, it's come back in, and now we're going to start to see the second orb for the first time. The second orb just kind of appears here. You'll see it start to move. So in the satellite video, that second orb, it stalls. It actually stalls right there for a second. So you can see the first orb, both orbs are side by side here. And then the second, the first orb moves, but the second orb stays in its position. And now you're going to see that second orb start moving. In the drone video, there's still no orb, but now they're starting to do their little orbit about the jetliner in the satellite video. And again, you're going to see the jetliner and the orbs move out of frame in the drone video, but they're in orbit right there. So you should be able to see both orbs orbiting the jetliner at that point. You're not able to. They orbit the satellite video, and now here the second orb is showing up in the drone video. So it's approaching from behind the jetliner. If you go back in the satellite video, remember the second orb, maybe it's debatable a little bit, but it didn't really seem to approach from straight behind the jetliner. It jumps back behind it at that point and goes right over the top. So we'll watch what it does when it shows up in the drone video. But generally it doesn't seem to be an exact match. So there you see that orb on the drone video. Now as the jetliner comes back into view, suddenly you have two orbs orbiting the jetliner. The position doesn't seem to necessarily agree perfectly.
They seem closer than the.
Yeah, in the drone video, they always seem much closer to the jetliner versus what you see in the satellite video. In the satellite video, they're like this range looks like it's pretty far. Doesn't look like it should be that far away in the drone video, but could it be perspective? Possibly. But there's other elements just on timing. The timing doesn't match. Timing is far off. So we'll keep progressing. The third orb is about to show up. Now we see the third orb shooting out of the top of the screen in the satellite video. The orbs are rotating, kind of steady in the drone video. And then that third orb it shows up and goes right into sort of an orbit.
Where's the third orb in the drone video?
It hasn't shown up yet.
All right.
A little late to the party. So if we look at the timestamp, so right
time
there.
dilation.
Yeah, this is like time dilation, scalar waves, and endothermic events.
I just gave him an excuse. Sorry.
Yeah, they're not fully conjugated yet. So 26 seconds.
Out of phase.
And yeah, I just want to point out another thing here. This is another discussion point that I think is worth bringing up. Let me see if I can find. Of course, I had this window open, and now I can't find it. Here we go. All right. So when things move in a circular path, the movement of the circle is defined by a sine wave. And so what you see here is you've got one object moving in a circle, and you've got another object that's moving along a sine wave. So the x and y coordinate of the object moving in a circle traces out a sine wave. This isn't some kind of magic, though. This is just circles. This is how circles work. So if you plot the the radial position of the orb versus its height, d, or distance from the center line, that's going to be a function of sine. It's going to be a sine wave. So sine theta is going to equal d. That's how circles work. So it's not, when it gets pointed out, it's like, oh, we discovered it was a sine wave. Well, anything that's moving in a circle is gonna produce a sine wave. It's gonna have a sine wave for the x and a sine wave for the y. Or in phase, it's a cosine for one, sine for the other. So that's that gets brought up a lot, and it's mentioned as something that contributes to the authenticity of the video somehow, but it's really not. It's just
they're not really
things moving in a circle.
They're not consistent anyway, right? They're not the supposed sine wave isn't, because they get kind of canted at one point, which means if you were somehow able to plot them with a wave, it wouldn't be consistent timing wise, right? It's as if you took the circle and tilted it, so now they're rotating. If you watch the whole thing in true speed.
Well, yeah, and I think what you're talking about is if you were to actually try to attempt to plot the position of the orbs, then yeah, it would probably be a little off. And I'm sure that's true.
The reason I'm saying this is because I did plot maybe on another show I'll show my orbs in my CAD file, and it's a perfect. They're 120 degrees out of phase with each other, right?
Yeah, they've got an equal offset for sure.
They're 120 degrees, and when my orbs look too perfect, when the plane is flying, and they're perfectly in phase, they're all in the upright, they're all on the same plane. So so my sine wave would be a perfect sine wave or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. If you're plotting it, it's going to come out
It's
perfect,
going to
right?
come out correctly, but these wouldn't. So anyway, I just thought it was interesting.
Sure. And if for someone modeling it, it's going to be perfect, right? Because if you take an orb as an object, and I think there's going to be some discussion about that later. But if you take an orb and you put it in a uh, circular orbit around another object, using VFX, it's going to be like its orbit is going to be defined by a sine wave. That's just how it works. So it's not some magical thing. That's just math. That's just
Right,
how it works.
right.
So yeah, going back to our orbs though. So we've got two orbs visible now on the drone video. We've got three orbs on the satellite, and we're at 26 seconds. So we're gonna advance forward about 27 seconds. We've got a full second now where three orbs are there in the satellite video, and we still just now. So right there, 2709. You see the third orb at the bottom of the frame, entering the bottom of the frame on the drone video. And it looks to be entering from, it looks to be coming more from perpendicular off the side. We'll watch it as it keeps moving. Whereas in the satellite video, it actually entered from almost straight behind it. And then it came into a spot in the orbit kind of above the top of the plane. Um, but yeah, we'll watch it as it comes in. So now we've finally got three orbs rotating in both videos. And right here, so the argument is that they're in perfect sync. But right here, you can see the orbs are opposite their arrangements. So you got one in front, or sorry, two in front, one behind on the satellite video. You got two behind, one in front on the drone video. So even though you've got all the orbs there, they're not always in sync. They're not always moving in the same manner in each view.
That's what I was kind of saying. If you let it play, you'll see that their orientation to the plane is kind of canted. They're not they're not
Yeah.
perpendicular. The
So
orientation is not perpendicular to the plane.
right on the drone video, the center is probably here, and then the rotation is kind of angled forward. So they rotate on a Cartesian plane, and
Yeah,
that Cartesian plane is slightly angled forward, top forward to
there
the
you go.
jetliner right there.
That was what I was trying
Um,
to describe. Yeah,
Whereas in the satellite video, approximately the same timing, that Cartesian plane is bisecting the center line, the
right.
the front to
And
back
it's
center line
more
of the
vertical.
jetliner.
It's more at a perpendicular to the axis of the plane.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
rotation, even if it would be one thing to say, oh, but they're just a little out of sync. Maybe that's a matter of perspective. They're not even rotating in the same plane,
No, you can tell it's not perspective, right?
and that it stays in
Yeah.
that plane in the satellite video for a while. So they're apparently rotating backwards. So I'm gonna back the video up and then advance it. So if you look in the satellite video, it looks like the orbs are moving um, in a counterclockwise rotation. In the
Can I
drone
show
video,
something? Can I show
sure,
something? It's only like 30 seconds.
sure.
I want to show you. Um, this is a good example of how when they're perfectly see how they're perfectly out of phase. They're 120 degrees out of phase. They're all on the same axis. See,
God, look at how realistic that looks.
yeah, this is a little.
That's way better VFX than
That was a fun. It was a funny little video I did about. I don't know. It took me about an hour.
look at that.
And that's how I learned about. I was wanting to learn about the orbs and how how they orbited and so I made this just for fun. So
It's a good thing you told us that you made that, because some people might have thought that was a third video.
well, I used a different zap. How about that? I made my own zap.
Wow.
But anyway, sorry. I was just trying to demonstrate what a perfect. This is a perfect. Like the orbs are in perfect. Uh, According to the axis of the plane, they're perfectly aligned vertically, and the Cartesian coordinates are all perfectly lined up. So then if you go back, now I'll turn this off, and you watch your where's your there yours, and you watch if you watch now. I'm not saying they have to be. I'm just saying if you look now, you have something to compare both videos to, right?
Yeah.
You look at the drone, and you can see how honestly the drone would be more what I would imagine orbs would do, not the other one. Right? You wouldn't imagine that, or if they were real orbs, they would be more like. To me, they would. I would imagine them to be more like the drone video, not right because they're not. They're just right. They're all little independent aliens flying around. Right? They're not. Uh, I'm trying to be facetious a little bit, but I'm
Yeah,
just saying.
aliens, exactly.
If you were imagining it, you
If I
wouldn't
was
imagine.
if I was a little green man flying a
Yeah,
little ball, this is what it would look like.
yeah. It wouldn't be that. Wouldn't be more like the other where they all look like they were controlled by the same entity or whatever. But anyway, sorry, I went down another rabbit hole. I
No, you're good.
apologize.
So here you can see, again in the satellite video, the plane of rotation has changed, where they're going on, you know, around the jetliner along its around its wings, I guess you'd say. And in the drone video, again, it doesn't match. You know, you've got a lot more movement. That plane of rotation is kind of constantly varying in the drone video, um, and in the satellite video, you're not seeing that much change.
Did you? When were you going to bring up the fact that you think that the asset in the satellite video is a two-dimensional asset instead of a three-dimensional, like I originally thought it was?
Yeah, so let's just go through this, because I think one of the arguments that someone might make against this is that it's not properly timed. Um, so there's a few other things that happen here that I want to point out. Um, 'Cause it's more than just timing. It's also, how it's represented, and just the mismatch how it's represented. So we're going to see a cut right here. The jetliner is out of frame, and then it's going to enter frame. So after it enters the frame this last time, the drone is somewhere back here, right? And the distance, how far back, the closer it is, the worse the effect I'm about to describe, the worse it would be. The further it is, the more subtle it would be. But basically, if the drone is very close, it can't fly as fast as the jetliner. Like this drone, it's an MQ-1. What's depicted in the video is an MQ-1B, just based on its shape. Um,
Or C?
it's definitely an MQ-1B by its shape. We can review that in a minute.
Okay,
But either way, the MQ-1B top speed is 117 knots. The MQ-1C top speed is 160 knots. And that's top. That's
right.
absolutely as fast as it can go, airspeed. Um, the jetliner is, its minimum stall speed for this turn is probably almost 300 knots. Probably higher, or probably faster than that even, just because of its bank angle, and we'll look at that in a second as well. So jetliner it's considerably outpacing the drone. It's going much, much faster than the drone. It should be running away from it. And if you're looking at it, if something passes you at 100 miles an hour, you're not going to get to maintain a side angle profile of it. It's going to pass you, and you're going to be looking at the back of it. It's going to quickly develop enough range that your apparent view is the back of it. But somehow the drone maintains a apparent side-on view, to do
Let me
that, it would have to keep up with the jetliner and start looking, to the right as it's
let me
flying
play
next to the
devil's
jetliner.
advocate from one of the horde.
Sure.
Um, if you're the drone, like there's two drone operators for each drone, right? I know this. One flies it, and one operates the camera and the sensors. Can the person who operates the camera or the sensors turn the camera faster than the drone can fly?
How do you mean? Turn it faster than the drone
Like
can
you're
fly?
saying that the drone can't keep up, but the the camera, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate here, okay? Because I want to answer this question, or I want to at least bring it up because I know it's going to come up. I've already heard it. The argument is that someone's operating the camera. You know, the camera can go at least 180 degrees, right?
Yeah,
If
I mean,
not more.
that's not a problem. The idea that one operator can run the camera and one can fly the drone, like I think that's pretty typical actually when you see
No,
some of
that's
the
what they. That's what I'm saying. That's what they do, right?
yeah.
So someone's following the plane with the camera or the sensor.
Yeah, should be.
Yeah, so they can turn that sensor faster than the drone can turn.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that because I've heard that argument before.
Yeah.
Because
The
I
problem
asked the
isn't
question, how could you possibly? I asked the very same question that you're bringing up, and that was the answer I got.
yeah. I think the problem is that you just you can't maintain that side profile. Like the
Mm-mm.
drone can't keep up with the jetliner. So yeah, the drone can always look at the jetliner because the camera can turn plenty fast to do that, but it can't keep up. And so the only way you could have this steady side shot is if the drone is flying along at the same speed as a jetliner looking sideways. But because the jetliner is outpacing the drone by over 100 miles an hour, it's going to be looking at the back of the jetliner.
I had a funny image of the drone drifting sideways, yawing to get it
Well, with
to get
VFX,
lined
you can
up.
do whatever you want.
I know, I'm just kidding. Sorry, I'm trying to keep it a little bit light here. Sorry,
Sure,
go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
Uh,
So what you notice here is that for let's say from 45 seconds until the zap, the angle, the relative viewing angle of the drone is unchanged. And for a jetliner that is outrunning a drone by over 100 miles an hour, that's not possible.
is it still supposed to be in a turn right here?
Nope, the jetliner is moving straight.
Okay, so there's not supposed to be a bank angle on the plane.
Right now, there shouldn't be. Yeah, it's
Okay,
moving straight. I mean, in the drone video, it's apparently straight. In level flight. Um, yeah, so it's not turning. It's not like moving in an arc around the drone to where it would maintain a constant distance. So it'll do that right up until the zap here, and just again to point out the synchronization. So these two are lined up. The zap appears right there, 54:16 on both videos. And you can go through the frames.
Chrisley,
And
is that the same zap in both? The same
So
effect?
the FLIR footage uses different frames from the satellite footage. The satellite footage, I believe, uses frame 3 of the Pyromania stock asset, and then the FLIR footage uses several other frames.
But it's the same
It's the
FX?
same asset, it's just different frames from the same video.
Okay.
go
Effect,
ahead.
that effect, there's no depth to that zap, right? If you're looking at it, it's a 2-dimensional effect, right? It's not a 3-dimensional.
No, it's a well, for the satellite footage, it's just a single frame, so it's a 2D image, and then in the FLIR footage, it's several frames just put together.
I know, but I'm saying if you took that effect and I put it in SketchUp, it wouldn't have depth and thickness. And
Yeah,
width.
it's not a 3D model, it's just a 2D plane.
Okay, that's what I was curious about. Because I would think an explosion. This is another thing I'm going to kind of try to look into. Whatever this is supposed to be, an implosion or an explosion or whatever, they don't seem to have any depth of field to them, right?
Yeah, I think because by taking out the color information, it removes the illusion of depth. You would see, like, because these videos both have depth, right? You can kind of see the plane's form and all that stuff. But because both the FLIR and the satellite, their zaps are essentially silhouettes, you don't get that sense of depth. So
Well, okay.
they're already 2D planes, but yeah, there's even less depth because of
To me,
it's
the
lower.
satellite video doesn't have depth, but the drone video has a little depth to it. That's
Yeah,
just the way
it's
my
slight.
brain is.
Yeah,
What's that?
I said it's slight, and it's when you can once it pops back up, you'll see there's like a little bit of gradation, but it's all generally the same color.
So
So,
another thing. Go
in your
ahead. Go ahead.
opinion, and I'm going to ask both of you this question, and both of you please answer. Do you think the path of the plane matches as far as bank angle, radius? I mean, I looked. It takes 4,000 feet to make a turn for the 747 to make a full radius, a full turn, right? So, do y'all think that this? Do you think the path of the plane is the same in both? I mean, you're saying they lined up, the timing works, but do the paths line up, like elevation wise, or can we know that from this?
I think it's very difficult to know that. What I would say is that it does appear that the general shape of the path between the two is kind of similar. It's hard to pick out something distinctly different about the path between the two videos.
The
Um,
reason I was asking you about that chart earlier that showed elevation, um, we don't
oh yeah,
they the what am I calling them? The horde. They don't make claims as far as elevation,
I
right?
think they
Altitude.
do. I think they say that all this should occur somewhere around like 10,000 feet elevation, and
Okay.
I think it's actually kind of an important argument that they make because they claim that what you see here in the satellite video is a contrail, not a or sorry, it's smoke, not a contrail. Um, and that's to align with the sighting by Kate T. So she says she saw a plane that appeared to be glowing um, with smoke coming from it, and so
Where was that witness?
if we go back to the map, that sighting was around here, and there's some kind
What's
of
that?
inconsistencies with the
There's a
time.
little island there. What is that? What is that?
That no, they're just out in the water. I mean,
Oh,
there's some islands around
oh,
here
they're on
that
a boat or something.
yeah, they were on a boat.
Okay. Did they see it flying in that direction?
I would have to go back and look at greater
Okay.
detail and exactly what she claimed, but
Kate T was on an oil rig.
no, KT was on a boat, I believe.
Wait a
KT was
minute.
on a boat, and then there's an oil rig guy. There's another one, another witness that supposedly was on an oil rig that claimed to have
Okay,
seen it.
rotary motion. Don't be planting. I'm just kidding.
No, he's I think what
I'm
he's
just
saying is
kidding.
KT and oil rig guys.
Oh, and Kate T and
Yeah.
oil rig guys in the sea. Was she the lady that thought she could see into the cockpit? Are
There's a lot
you
of
talking about the lady that saw the? Never mind. I was going
you
to make a
could
bad joke.
probably have like a 30-minute review of just the supposed sightings,
Yeah,
and then
we
try
might
to
have to do
line
that in
them up
another
and see.
video.
Yeah, it would be worth doing. Personally,
Yeah.
I've not gone through the details of those claims. I think for the sake of showing that the videos aren't real, you
Are
don't
you
have to get
are
into that detail.
are you being serious, Vincent? I
Now,
mean,
Vincent's probably being sarcastic.
what?
I guess.
That reminds me of the lady who back what was it, in the '60s who claimed to see the
Yeah,
guy.
no, didn't she really claim that she could see into the cockpit from her area on
I
the
mean,
boat?
it's hard to see into the cockpit when the plane's on the ground. I don't know how you're going to see.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't understand that either.
somebody did claim they could see
I
into it.
mean,
I don't remember if that was KT or not, or if that was someone else.
the cockpits aren't that the windows aren't that large on right. I mean, compared to the size of the plane. But I don't know. That means the plane would have to be very low and have a right the altitude.
Yeah, I feel like it would have to be extremely low for you to be able to see into the cockpit.
Yeah, I don't know how that could. I mean, I don't know how that could happen. I don't know. It's pretty wild. Pretty wild. Um, let's see. What else did we have here? Oh, right.
Let's
So
go
I
back.
was
Let's go to this right quick. I'll show you mine. This is an exact model. I guess what I'm responding to is you see how small, right? Now you go back and you're on the ground, you're looking up. Is that
This
pretty
woman
decent
had
reference?
bionic vision.
I mean, it seems like to me you would have to be anyway. I'm just
Yeah, it
just
seems well beyond the realm of possible.
oops.
I don't know how close you would have to be with proper cockpit lighting to be able to see into a cockpit. And I think she said that she could identify a person, like a silhouette of a person or something. So it would be an interesting experiment to just take a jetliner on a tarmac at night and look at it from range and see how close you have to get or how much you have to zoom in. What field of view you need to be able to actually see into the cockpit, because I would imagine it's pretty close.
So
But
where are we on this little part of the presentation? Because I had a point about the drone I wanted to bring up after you're done with this.
sure. So I'm going to run through. So I think this is kind of it for the orbs, and then there was also the discussion of the attitude of the jetliner and the parent jetliner model and that kind of thing. So I don't know if you want to pause in between that, if you have something else you want to discuss, or if you want to just jump into it.
Um, oh, you're saying the next thing you're talking about is not related to the drone?
It's mostly, well, yeah. I
My
think
thing will
we
only
have.
take a
Is that what
few.
we've got on the
My
list
thing
here?
will take about 20 seconds if it's okay.
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me go to me, and we'll go to the PiFiShow.com. I just wanted to show these pictures of the actual drone with the actual cameras. And can you see this okay? Am I screen sharing okay?
That looks good.
Okay. I didn't know. Sometimes I'm not sure if I'm screen sharing. But you can see the cameras are mounted on these pods and they're forward of the wing, right? You can see that this mount slopes forward, so it's not under the wing. So there's at no point would you be able to see any part of this wing when you're flying, right? And there's a bunch of, all you have to do really is search. Here's a, you know, here's actually the first flight of the MQ-1C Gray Eagle. This was actually 2015. Can you believe it? This is a video of the first flight of the Gray Eagle. Now, okay, I'm not gonna belabor that point. I'm just saying, there are plenty of videos you can go. There are plenty of photographs you can go see where it would be a poor design to place the camera back and up where you're looking up at the wing, right? So when we go back to your thing, where's your thing? Here we go. See that you would never see that part of the wing from the drone uh, camera. Imagine how far back you would have to actually be. I'm not even sure the wing is that wide that you would have to have the camera that far back to see that wing, that part of the wing. Does that make sense? Is everybody still with me? Did I lose?
No, I'm here. I'm here.
I'm sorry, TJ. I accidentally put you out.
Oh, no worries. I was wondering. I was talking.
Did you hear me talking at all?
I did.
Okay.
So I think this is a good moment to bring up the drone. So this is a video this little clip here was made by Marco Cheese on Reddit. So this is the Jet Strike drone, and this is in what's it called? SketchUp. I think this is SketchUp.
Yeah, that's what I use, SketchUp. Yeah.
And so they approximated to get the site profile that was seen with that drone model that's from Jet Strike.
There you go.
They kind of approximated the location, and this was, this is a match. The edges and the lines, everything lines up perfectly. Now, what's interesting about that? There's another kind of neat point here. So if you look at the drone, you see it's got that top cover on it. And you can see the line, that top cover, and this hotspot here is supposed to be the think it's a de-icer for a either a pitot tube for a speedometer, basically an airspeed sensor. And so I think that's supposed to be the de-icer for it. But when you look at this line, this is the line for the top cover that covers the satellite uplink dome on top of the drone, and it comes back in a straight line, and then it takes a hard turn up. And when you look at the drones, so we're going to look at
I've got a good picture of that actually, I think.
so this is an MQ-1B. The MQ-1B, it has that sideline. See if we
The
can
one
open this
on
in another
the
tab.
B on the C is more of a curve.
Yeah. So the MQ-1B has that sight line, and then this is the location where that little heated sensor thing is. But the MQ-1B is a very different drone. You notice it doesn't have the big intake on the back, got a much smaller intake because it's got a much lower horsepower motor, much lower top speed. So 117 knots, 41.8 foot wingspan, first flight in 1994. That's the B. Now you can come back over here and look at MQ-1C, and you can see how different that line is.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
got a curve that comes down towards the center line, and we don't see that. If when we go back over to the footage, we don't see that curve. So this is your center line right here, and that cowling or that upper cover, it doesn't have that drop. It's got that straight line.
I kind of get that, but all that even if it's the same, it doesn't matter which drone it is. If you just place a camera under any drone and you look at the angle that would be required, the camera would have to be set back under the wing, not mounted as was shown. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think all of this just goes into showing that the representation of a drone that's in this video is VFX. It's not
Yeah.
real.
I can pull that same drone. There's probably 10 drones that someone has made like that into SketchUp. They're not all perfect. If you go in and show the part I was telling you that was a little off, if you don't mind showing for the
Sure.
curved part.
Oh,
If,
yeah, you want to go back and look at that on here?
now, let me show you. Let me show first what I'm talking about, and then you can show. You see this part right? This is the MQ-1C. Okay, this is the MQ-1C, right? So that mount is slanted forward to get the camera forward of the wing, right? That's its
Right.
the purpose of this mount is to get it forward, because why would you want to have the wing in the field of view, right? When you could have
Absolutely.
enemy planes in your field of view. Why would you want your wing there? So these mounts are made to get the camera forward and down, right? And I think they're made to get it down so that it's below the some of this other stuff over here, right? I guess it's sort of
Absolutely.
level with that, but anyway, it's down and to the front. So, so let me go back and let you take control again. And you can see there you got your Hellfire missile mount there.
Right. And this one is an
So,
MQ-1B, so you can tell by the much smaller cowling toward the engine
yeah.
area. And the MQ-1B actually has a slightly different mount from the MQ-1C. So it actually has a straight drop
Well, I
on that
imagine it
mount.
depends on whether you're using weapons or sensors, right?
Well, it's just that the MQ-1B is an older design and it
Yeah.
has a different mount. The MQ-1C, we can pull up another image of that same hardpoint, and the MQ-1C, like you were showing, it's flipped and it puts everything forward. And that's really important because let me see if I can find the Gorgon stare image.
Honestly, even if it was straight down like that, the camera still couldn't see the wing. There's no it would have to be turned straight. You would have to have a 360-degree field of view to be able to see the wing.
Oh
Even
yeah,
if
I fully agree that there's no practical way. So this is an
I've got that.
MQ1. Sorry, this
Yeah.
is the MQ1C with the Gorgon stare on it, and it's exactly like you said. That mount comes forward of the wing edge. the cameras are not going to be obscured ever. That sensor is below the lip of the cover or whatever on that housing. So the housing is never going to obscure the sensor field of view. That's proper
Yes.
design. That's by design.
According to the paperwork that I'll show in just a second, the MQ1C was real in 2014, but it was actually in a testing period at that time. It hadn't been fully deployed. That's what I thought was funny. So anyway,
Yep. And we can see by the lineup, just by the site profile here, we can see that camera it's not in the right place. The field of view, the site profile that you have, that's not any real location.
can I say
There's
something about SketchUp models since I've
Sure.
been using it for 16 years? Sometimes those models are built by human or just users. That's not a military contractor that made that mount, right? That made that model, right?
Correct.
So that's why
Correct.
I'm not showing my model from SketchUp because it was created by an individual who took the specs and tried to build it as best he could. But you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So I think the photographs you showed were better. I mean, I use 3D Warehouse. It's called 3D Warehouse. I
There you
use it
go.
all the time. That's where I got the Malaysian airline in my video.
Yep.
But I actually measured the model. I got the specs of the Boeing 777 and checked all the specs, and it checked out.
And it's just to kind of continue to beat on this one. There was another drone at the time called the RQ4 Global Hawk, and this drone actually could have nearly kept up with this drone could have nearly kept up with the jetliner.
That
So it
was
is
out.
actually
I thought that
yep.
came out in like 2019.
Mm-mm. The RQ4 Global Hawk, I think its first flight was 2011 or something like that. We can go back here. I
But
think
it was used for more high altitude
actually no, there you
reconnaissance.
go, 1998. So introduction to
Oh,
service is 2001. So
and
this
wasn't
thing
it
has been
made
out.
for like high altitude reconnaissance, and the gray eagle drones were more like battlefield stuff,
Yeah,
right?
so the gray Eagle and the MQ-1B, MQ-1C, those are battlefield awareness drones. So they're
Yeah,
meant for use overland.
yeah.
They're meant for looking at people and vehicles on the ground. They're not meant for making over water observations out in remote areas. There's this drone, the RQ4, and then there's another one. there's an even faster one that probably wouldn't have been used for this, but maybe it could have been like if this had actually happened, if this was a real thing. I'm just saying, you've got these super fancy orbs and it's some kind of top secret defense thing. Why are you using this piece of junk drone out of? And it's I say piece of junk. It's designed for a purpose. It's designed to be uh, packed into small crates that can be lifted and assembled by hand and launched from improvised runways, in very remote areas, and it's to set up quickly and that kind of thing. It
And
has
you've
a
only
purpose.
got like a 130-mile radius, right? Because it's only got like a 270-mile range or something.
Well, no, they've got a there's some technologies out there, so the MQ-1C for sure. I'm not sure if the MQ-1B had this same feature, but
You keep referencing the B, but nobody's claiming the B was used, right?
I'm saying the
What do,
image definitely depicts a B.
what do you mean the image? What image?
This site profile is an MQ-1B.
Which one?
This site profile that you see in
Oh,
the
I'm
drone
not. Yeah,
video.
I'm not convinced of that. But anyway, go ahead. But why are they claiming it's the C? Who's claiming it's the C?
Because the capabilities of the MQ-1B are so poor, and the likelihood that it would have been in service, uh, where this is just completely beyond consideration.
Okay, I'm just trying to get my facts straight.
Sure.
All this time, I was told it was the MQ1C, but I'm cool with because
Initially, like if you go back to um, that Ashley Burnet's account. I don't know if have you ever looked at that?
uh-uh.
So let me pull that up real quick.
Who is he?
It's some random person that posted some stuff. related to the videos. Posted the videos. Actually, kind of kicked off this most recent saga, I guess you can call it. Let me pull this YouTube account up. So
You missed a lot,
sorry,
Daniel
everyone.
Boone. You're gonna have to start from the beginning. Daniel Boone just got here. He's a long time listener, watcher.
All right, great. Yeah, I mean we can recover some stuff, of course. Whatever you
2
want.
hours.
Right.
2 hours worth of
Maybe
content.
not all of it, but maybe something. Recover something. So here's this Ashley Barnett's account, and they posted this video, and in here, right here, see they're calling it the MQ1L, which was retired in 2018. So MQ1L, MQ1C, that's the same frame. That's the same platform.
Okay.
And the MQ1L and MQ1B are the same platform. The MQ1C is a different platform.
That's the older one, right?
The MQ1 this is the older one. The MQ1L is the older one. The MQ1C is the newer one. So if you pull up
Cryshlee, what do you? I feel like we're kind of leaving you in the dark a little bit. Do you have
No,
anything to input on the?
No, I'm interested to hear the rest of this.
Have you heard what kind of input have you heard on the drone as far as models and all that, or is that something? I know you and I've been talking mainly about the imagery of it, but I'm really curious about the specs on what is claimed to be the drone, because I still don't see, no matter what drone you use, how you get an image of the wing above. I think that's a fatal flaw of whoever. I was going to play this little clip of Jonas saying, it's kind of funny. He was saying there must have been like a rookie that or they were very inexperienced, that made the videos, because they didn't really make an attempt to alter his images. And I was saying, yeah, the whole video is like that. Both video, you know what I mean?
very
Yeah.
No one stopped to think that of the camera angle, and that you wouldn't be able to see the wing of the drone. It's a
Yeah,
very
there's a lot of details that are
very
not
deep, it's a
accurate.
very simple thing, but again, it's
But I appreciate the issue that a VFX artist had here was, in any real camera application on a drone like this, on an MQ1B or C, the drone is never visible. In an operation, you wouldn't want the drone obscuring your field of view. So the way they path the drone here and versus the jetliner, if you had actually had a realistic vantage point from the drone, you never would have had the drone in the shot. And I think they believe they were adding realism to it by showing the sight profile of the drone, and inadvertently, made it something that was obviously fake.
Yeah, I think that was intentional. Because if the drone profile wasn't in there, then people would say, well, who's filming this? And that's just to answer that question. And it's the same thing for the satellite video. The presence of the mouse cursor and the scrolling, it just adds like a level of authority. Like, it's someone viewing it from a security monitor, some kind of remote terminal access, whatever that's called, kind of
Citrix
situation.
session, they call it. Right?
Yeah.
The other thing is that the guy who's controlling the drone camera has a joystick, and he can turn the camera. Right? You never see the camera itself actually move. It's just a zoom. It's like it's edited after the fact. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
In a real drone
mentioned that,
video,
I wanted to pull.
you would see the camera moving itself. You would see, because the guy's he's got a joystick that he's controlling the camera with. So,
This is actual footage from an MQ1. I think this was an MQ1C that got buzzed by a Russian jet, and so they were panning. I don't know if they were doing it manually or not, but one person was panning as this jet came by and tried to dump fuel on the drone. They actually bumped it because
you have different operators. Now, that was the front nose.
Yeah, that was a front nose camera looking back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can, when it's looking back and up, it can see under the wing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I was trying to make that point. That's not an under wing camera. That's the nose camera looking back. Yeah,
Yeah, there's no like on this particular drone. It looks like I mean you don't see any hard points on the wing. You know
and you'll
that
notice
whole wing
we
area
have
is
true
clear.
color there. We don't have. This
There's a
was a
lot of things that don't match, right? So
Yeah, that was a
there,
video that I used to demonstrate how clear and concise that drone video could be. If you wanted to show aliens, you could easily show. You know, we have equipment that you could easily show the outline of a. Anyway,
right.
I like that video there. It's a good one.
So yeah, I think the only other points that I had here that are like really obvious tells for the satellite video, um, to me, the jetliner looks like you know, it could be a 3D scene that they rendered all this in the orbs, you know, to make them look like they rotate. They probably used, you know, a 3D scene in After Effects, but the jetliner model itself, like the asset that was used to do this, I think they used a 2D image, you know, draped on a flat 3D surface to move through the scene and rotate it. Because when you look, there's no vertical stabilizer here. And if you compare it to,
Can you zoom in a little bit on that?
let's see what we can do. Yeah, probably do something here.
This is funny because this is something that you had to convince me of because I thought that they were using a. I thought this was like 2.5D, right? I thought they had a 3D plane in it against the image, and I
Right.
think you convinced me that you're correct about this.
So you see something here. Number one, the shape doesn't look right, but the shadows on this asset, they're not
It's
really
almost like the
changing.
tail has a fan, like is a wedge
Yeah, and
shape.
it's the wrong
Yeah, it looks
shape,
like a
right?
fish
So it's got
tail.
like a V shape going backwards, and there's no vertical stabilizer. So
Yeah,
Tony Adams made a recreation, and he used the actual 777-200 in his model, and it we'll look at it in a second. It looks completely different. You can see this plane is getting really flat right about now, especially in this scene right here. So they're about to change out the model as the plane comes around. Well, let's go really slow through here, and let's see if we can see like, precisely when they change the model out. So, but right there, you can see that plane, that model is just getting really flat, and they may have even
I
squeezed
think
that
they're trying
same
to show
one.
perspective there, like where it's turning. It's got a bank angle, and it's but they're not doing a very good job.
Right.
The reason I was harping on the path of the plane so much is because I was trying to reproduce it in SketchUp and then take my plane and fly it along that path, showing a camera from the satellite view and the drone view at the same time to
Right.
see if you get the proper perspective on the.
There's something weird going on there, but like another issue with it right now is so we should be looking down from a satellite here, right?
Right.
Well, whatever our angle is, you know, we're maybe not looking perfectly down. Maybe we're 10 degrees off, or I don't know how far off. Well, this jetliner apparently is like wingtip up right now. It's making this turn, and you know, bear in mind, we saw it back here, and it was flat, right? So jetliner was flat. Right here, it's in a bank per the drone. It's in a bank. It may be it may be slightly nose down here, but it doesn't look like it's substantially nose down. You know, it's not in a straight dive right here. Um, so, and we're looking top down on the jetliner now. So, you know, top down satellite, right? We get to here, and suddenly it's a wingtip up. The jetliner couldn't have moved that much closer to the satellite perspective to change that, you know, in that distance, in that time. So, you know, there's something going on there. There's a mismatch in the orientation of the jetliner between the satellite video and the hoax drone video. You know, this is apparently wingtip up, hard banking in a turn, and this one looks like it's at a relatively normal, relatively typical bank angle return. So there's disagreement in just in the angle of attack, or whatever you want to call it, of the jetliner between those two videos, and that doesn't correct for a while here. You're seeing it in the drone video, like we're still apparently wingtip up in the satellite, and in the drone video, it's getting much closer back to level flight here now. So there's a major inconsistency there, in my
What I
opinion.
may do, Crishley, at some point, just to show what I'm trying to do here is, at some point, I may work with you on trying to get this bank or UTJ of trying to get this bank angle. See, here's my plane going in the curve, right? So I'm from a satellite view. This is a satellite view, right? Looking down. And what I'm going to do is take this plane and I'm going to put the drone over there. And there's the plane, right? But I need to get the bank angle. Right now, it's, I've got it flying level, but I need to do some research, and I'm going to set this turn up, whatever it is, and show the drone looking at it at the same time as the satellite. So that's
An easy way to do that I've considered doing this. I haven't done it yet, but I think it would be fairly easy to simulate a flight in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and then you can, after the fact, you can replay the flight and view it from different vantage points, and then screen cap that.
I
So
know,
if
but I'm a SketchUp guy. I want to do it in SketchUp.
yeah, I appreciate that. I'm just throwing some options out there.
Yeah, I know. I'm just.
I know there's been
But
speculation that the background in the FLIR footage could have been flight simulator footage, but I don't think anyone's tried to verify that yet.
Did you have some examples of how the background noise was copied from? Who was it that had from frame to frame?
yeah,
So
we talked about that.
can,
I think
it cancels out.
yeah, I think Chrysler's got an example of that.
No, it's not me. I believe. Then didn't you have a comparison?
I do. Yeah, I think I have a couple frames if you want to look at it real
See,
quick.
Chrisley, I was trying to work you back in. And here
I
you go.
have the plane and the contrails.
That's what I want to
Okay,
show.
yeah,
I want
yeah.
you to at some point next. I want to show that because I don't want to keep you out of the conversation. I want to keep you a part of it.
So there is a
No,
frame
okay.
match here if y'all wanna go through that real quick. I don't know if that's something that you wanted to look at,
Yeah,
especially,
please.
or
Yes.
okay, cool.
Sorry, I meant I wanted to see yours. I feel like
Oh, you want to see? Okay,
Oh,
okay, yeah, I got it. Okay,
okay.
so what I did was really simple. I went and pulled a couple frames, and I'm kind of jumping us through to the end here. So let me. So looking at the video, there's two frames. So this is frame 1084 and 1133. So that's at 45 seconds and at 47 seconds. So if you clip those, and I'll repeat it here so that we can follow along. We'll advance a little bit to say 45. Look at 1080. There we go. Let me go back to our reference here. So we were looking at 1084. I think this one has got it offset. Maybe that's why it's. Yeah. So let me do that. Let's do it from the original video. Switching over scenes on the video editor here. Okay, so it's 45 and 47 seconds. We can clip these two frames. We'll go ahead and do a new image here. We'll come back to 45, 4504, and we'll clip this frame as well. Paste that one in. And so that one is that one's a little smaller. So we'll scale this one up to where it matches. This is kind of a little bit of guesswork here. Getting a little closer. That's pretty close right there. Scale up just a tiny bit more. Pretty much right on where we need to be. So you can see those two frames, and then what we'll do is we'll put it on difference mode, and you'll notice it's very dark here in the middle. The similarity between the two frames is way too close to be realistic. Now we'll do one more thing to kind of highlight how much is similar here. We're going to recopy this difference image, paste it in. Just want to make sure everyone's still following along here. Not quiet all of a sudden.
Definitely listening.
Okay. And then we'll put a color curve on it to kind of highlight the common range here. So this is a color curve applied over the top of the difference image, and we're doing it to highlight what's in this range, because this kind of reveals where the mask actually is. So what it looks like happened, it looks like in this frame, the jetliner in the same orientation with one orb off the nose was copied in, with the only real change being a different HUD overlay, or different size and position of the same reticle. So this is, I mean, to me, this is an obvious tell for VFX. And I'm no VFX expert, but you can see even the sensor noise, the spots are the same. It's the same across a number of locations. The heat pattern is the exact same. You can look at these. This is not like, oh, maybe that's kind of close. Like this is exact, and you can even see the noise change outside the masked region. So my guess is they had some kind of issue with the synchronization of the orb positions, and to fix it, they cut in a frame to patch it and make it look right. That's speculation. It's hard to say why exactly they would have done this, but this is VFX. This is
Can you show me? Can you show me one quick thing?
sure.
Can you bring back up the drone angle where it's showing the wing in there? I want to. I want to. I was kind of doing something when you were working on that. I wanted to show it.
Okay, you're talking about the you're not talking
Where
about the
you
frame match, but you're talking about the two or the three view.
no, where you just have the drone or at the
This one.
beginning of the drone video where you can see the
Oh,
nose and the wing.
yeah. There you
There
go.
you go. Is that the first frame of that thing? Is that the first frame of that
Correct.
scene?
That's the first
All right.
frame of
So
the drone
I'm
video.
trying to line this up now. Let me go. Everyone, keep that image in your head, and let me go back here and to SketchUp. Okay. So I need to get some of that. I need to get some of that out of the. How am I going to do that? How do you get? What I'm trying to figure out is how do you get part of the. How do you get part? Okay, maybe that's how you do it. I'm trying to figure out how you got part of the. Like if we see that much of the wing, right? Now look where the camera is. The camera is looking at the back of this mount, right? To see that much wing, and I don't have it exactly lined up with the nose, right? That's going to be some kind of yaw thing, right? Like,
Yeah, I think you can slide it. So slide your camera closer to the drone and then look out away from the drone. So try to keep the same height.
okay, that's a good
Slide it
idea.
to the right and then
I'm
look to the
trying to keep this Hellfire missile in view so I can know where I am. It's going to be. I guess my point is, I don't think you can. I'll try. I'll play with it, but I don't think you can do it.
yeah,
Plus, you can also.
from the
Plus, you
mount
can
you
also
can.
see. You can see all this stuff.
Yeah.
So look at.
And
See where I am. I'm looking at that much. That much wing. Right. Okay. Now look at the back of this mount. I'm going to back up,
yeah, this is a
and
great demonstration.
where we were was the camera was about halfway. The camera had to be back this far. Had to be about halfway under the wing just to see it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, that's really
I don't know.
clear.
Did I demonstrate that okay? I mean,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
because you if you're here, if the camera, this is something SketchUp does. It thinks I'm trying to zoom to infinity, so I have to stay on the object. Be careful. But if my camera is way out here, I'm not going to see the wing. See,
Right.
let's
Yeah, the
put
only way it happens, there you go, is as you get the camera closer to the drone body.
now if I tilt it a little bit this way.
And even then, this is a good demonstration because this is actually an MQ-1C, and you can see how much taller the satellite dome, the uplink dome on the nose.
Yeah,
The MQ-1C is actually much taller than the MQ-1B.
yeah, because there's probably a lot more stuff under there. But yeah, I found this while you were working on your thing, and eventually I'll get this worked out to where I'll have the perfect view. And what you can do in SketchUp is you can take physical cameras and sit them there where you can see where the camera is, right?
Right.
So
That's what
I
you
can
need. Yeah.
locate the camera here, and then I can say save that view. Like I can go right here. I can get it lined up perfectly, whatever it was, and I can say that's my working view. Update that. So when I come back, then I can come out here and look and see where that camera it was, and I can hit that view and it'll go back to it. And then I can set up a view over here. That's maybe we just use this back elevation where we're demonstrating all this. Again, I was trying to zoom to infinity. Sorry. Usually you'll have a backdrop. Anyway, you see what I'm saying. Now I'm just going in circles, but let me go back. But eventually, that's what I want to do. I want to locate, and what I'll do is I'll take this image and put it in SketchUp, so I'll have a reference because I was trying to remember this angle, this view at the same time. So anyway, where are we in our show schedule? Are we back to Cryshlee?
Yeah, yeah, I
Orb of
want to
movement,
definitely
orb
hand it
movement
over.
contrails. Was that on our
Yeah,
list?
sure. And I kind of want to also kind of revisit slightly the issue with the frame matching. That was interesting because the fire specifically, if that really hot area, even if it was just smoke or the whatever's coming out of the jet, that would never look the same between two frames in real life. Never that would never ever look the same. So I feel like that's a really really good point to
You wouldn't see that line all the way around the edge of the plane either. I don't think it would be more concentrated, right?
Yeah, it's got a noise mask. So the noise is different in the cool field area than it is in the warmer areas. Um, and that's over the drone and that's over the jetliner. You don't see the same noise over that. Which I mean, I guess you could try to pretend that that's because the sensor is got noise, but infrared sensors don't have the same type of pattern noise that a visible spectrum sensor does, and that's kind of another error that's in the
Yeah,
video, in my opinion.
it's a big error. Yeah, I
And
think.
the other thing that we kind of glossed over it, but when we did that frame comparison a moment ago, the reticle size is different between those two. Um, I mean, unless you zoomed in on the actual field of view, the reticle size doesn't change.
Yeah, that was definitely that's a weird discrepancy. Um, it should, yeah, you're right. You're right. That I don't know why these small details aren't, getting considered. It's just kind of like overall kind of ignored.
Oh,
But
I
that's a
can tell you
huge, that's a
exactly why they're not
glaring.
getting considered. Because if you bring this up in the presence of some people, they will send a mob, a literal mob after
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Like it's heinous, it's horrible, and the fact that these people are getting platformed is just it's atrocious. And the people giving them platforms, oh my gosh, like it, it's unbelievable, you know. But that's clickbait. Unfortunately, that's the nature of media in this day and age. So the only thing you can do is call it out. That's what we're doing.
Yep, 100%. So I know you guys want to see um, we briefly talked about the path that the plane took. So with the After Effects, there I can demonstrate this for you really quick before we get into it. But
oh,
there's
cool.
a script that you can use where you can have an object follow a path. So if I draw a path here, just like this, I can go and select the path. I should be able to do this like this. Let's see.
Oh yeah, this is the same in SketchUp where you have it follow the path.
Yep. And then I would parent an object to this null. And wherever the null is on that path, the object that's parented to it will follow. So I did that for the plane. Let's get rid of this so that we don't have it taking over.
The
Here we
trouble, let me
have the
ask you a
plane
question
model.
while you're talking about that, Chrisley, the trouble I'm having in SketchUp is knowing how to make like going from level flight to bank angle, then going back to level flight.
Well, I think in my view or in my recreation, I wasn't really concerned of having it be realistic because it just needs to look like the video. And I think that the person who hosts these videos wasn't being realistic. They weren't being too realistic either. They were just
Oh,
trying to pass it off, right?
right. No, what I'm trying to demonstrate is the angle. Like when you're looking at the two videos at the same time, there should be a distinct difference between the angle, the bank angles, of the angle, the way you're looking, the perspective of the plane. So anyway, um, I need to figure that out. So
Okay. Well, here's the path that I um, traced out. Tony Adams, the person who created the initial satellite recreation file, he went ahead and he mapped out so I'll hide this so that we can see it, the trajectory of the plane. So it starts here and it goes all the way around and it stops around here. So I just did the same thing. I've traced this path with the pen tool and I had a null parented to that, or sorry, I have the null tracing the path, and then I have the plane parented to that null so that it takes the same path. So I'll turn this background off so we can see it better. Turn up the quality a little bit. And if I just drag this out, it is able to follow the path very easily. And because the plane is taking its location from this null object, which is basically it's an empty object that just takes simple data like location, scale, stuff like that. It has no it has nothing inside of it. There's no model, there's no image. It's just empty. Because it's taking this location from this, I can control its rotation separately. So I'm going to hide some of the stuff so that it's a little bit easier to see. Put this back on to full. And I also removed the coloration. So I removed most of the shading. I could add it back if I wanted to, but for ease of viewing, I've taken it off. And I also added a blur to it because if we compare it to the original video, it's not just it's not just pixelated, but it's not sharp. Like it's not as sharp as it would be if we left off the blur. So anyway, like I was saying, as it follows this path, I can rotate it independently of its location. So let's see if I can get down here and sorry, I believe I have an additional control. Here it is. So here I have the rotation. This is the orientation. So this little stopwatch here just means that it's keyframed to animate. And these are the different axes that I can rotate it on. So this one does up and down, side to side, and the other side to side. And for the contrails, there's a plugin in After Effects called Particular. And just to be clear, this airplane model, the Particular, everything that I'm using here was available in 2014. Nothing that I'm using or no technique that I'm using is new. These tools are virtually unchanged since then. Adobe doesn't really pack too many updates. So when they do updates, they don't pack that many new features, and when they do, they don't really change the old ones. So for the contrails, it's fairly simple. It's just a particle emitter attached to two locations on the plane. So I'm going to set up a new composition so I can show this a little bit more clearly. So if I add a new solid, we can change this to a different color. Sorry. Change the black so you can see things. And we're going to we'll add element 3D first, and we'll add a plane to it so that we can get the location of the jets. We can use this. Actually, no, we'll use there's a 777 in here already. And I think that this is the one that Tony Adams used in his recreation. And like you guys were saying earlier, there's a clear discrepancy in the shape of the body of the plane. Oh, you guys can't see it, can you? Sorry, I'm not sure if there's a way for me to show this because, okay, it's a different window in After Effects. That's why it's not showing up. But if I hit OK, it pops up here. And I can go down here, create group null. This is what I was talking about earlier. It's like an empty that can help control the object that you're using. Did it create them? Oops. Now it chooses not to work. Okay. Maybe I put it on the wrong. Okay, this is group 2, that's why. All right, here's our null. You can see from the top that the shape that's here does not match. This one is much fatter, like we noticed earlier. Now for the contrails, I would simply attach 2 lights to this. So first off, what we need to do is tell After Effects where on this plane we want these empties to be. to emit the particles. So I'm going to go down here. We're going to select 2D position, and all that means is that it chooses where on the plane to do it. We're only going to do one for this demonstration in the interest of time. And now that I have that, we're going to generate a null. And that generates another empty in that position. And we're going to clear out the rotation. I just want to show you like how simple it is to generate these contrails. It's not like there's no like in-depth physics simulations. You don't have to do like you don't have to do any of that. And it's fairly forgiving in terms of like processing power. And it doesn't take that long to render either. So now that we have this, we're going to add a light. Oops, point light. We'll rename it to jet. And we'll take the position of this and we'll paste it into the light. So copy and paste. Then we can delete this because we don't need it anymore. And now all we have to do is parent this to this. So now wherever this plane goes, the light will follow it. And you can see the lighting. It's using the lighting. It shouldn't be doing that, but it is. Now the next thing that we're going to do is add our contrails layer. So we add it here. We'll let it be white. We can put it in front of the plane. And we'll go over to trap code particular. This plugin is going to be the emitter. So let's make sure that it's taking our light as the emitter object. Just here. You can see it's already starting. There's some other settings that we need to fix. So we need this to be light, and we are going to change this to none. And I want to kind of point out that this technique that I'm using is actually one of the released tutorials from when Video Copilot, who is the author of this asset pack, released this. They released a series of tutorials after they released this asset pack to teach people how to use it. And one of the tutorials was creating contrails that come out of the back of these planes. And it was right around the time, I believe it was like mid or the end of 2013, maybe right around the beginning of 2014, that these tutorials are coming out. So I feel like that timing is a little bit it's okay. So
what's that music? Dun, dun, dun.
okay, so we're going to turn this velocity down, turn the emitter size down as well. And we don't see anything now, but if I animate this plane, we can have it maybe starting from here. And we'll grab its position and put in a keyframe. We can go in a couple seconds in. You can already see it starting to drag out behind the plane. I can also have the plane, have it rotate a bit as it flies across the screen. I can do that by keyframing its orientation. So maybe halfway through, I'll have it like turn this way, and you can see the contrail is following. Maybe it can do like an entire spin over or something. That could be cool. I don't know. If I hit play, let's see what that looks like.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Yes, I can. This plane is slowly turning. The jet is following it, as is the trail. It looks terrible, but this is what I'm doing in 2 minutes.
I remember I saw you demonstrate this before, and it was almost a duplicate of what was
Yeah,
in the video.
I was doing it on, I believe, this one. It's here, but I want it to be bigger.
Oh, like a fresh tab.
Here. This one I would have to zoom in, and it's so blurry, and I want people to see exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So just from here, we're gonna put this solid beneath the plane. This is this. Which one is this? We need all this to be beneath the plane. Now I can change the appearance of this contrail. Another thing I can do is duplicate the light emitter itself, and it will duplicate the trail as well. And then the settings just live in this layer, so I don't have to really worry about editing two settings to look the same. So down here in particle, we can change its appearance. We can change the life of the contrail. So shorter life means that it dissipates much quicker. Longer one lets it lengthen out. There's also some physics settings, but we're not going to get into that right now. But basically what the physics settings let you do is you can let it react to gravity, to wind, tons of settings.
It would kind of fade out as it goes by. It would kind of dissipate as it as it gets farther behind the plane. It dissipates. Yeah.
This is the size setting here. You can set it up to be as big or as small as you want. Here you can change the type of particle. So I can go back a little bit and kind of explain what a particle is. It's essentially a series of, for this particular setting, it's spheres. So it's going to emit a series of spheres. You can see them here. You can change how soft they are.
There's where the orbs come from, right there. I was joking. I'm sorry. Bad joke. So there's the orbs. There's a whole trail of orbs following it.
Yes, there is. You can change depending on how many you put here. This is the amount of particles emitted per second. So the more that you put here, the closer they'll appear. You can change some more settings here, but we're not going to get into those. It's not super necessary for this demonstration. You can change the randomness, and that will kind of give it more of a cloudy look. And you can also change the opacity. In this, in here, you can tell that these are pretty transparent. They're there, they're visible, but they're not super solid.
The other thing is smoke would not be as consistent as a contrail, right? Smoke is, contrails are being are being emitted on a consistent basis, but smoke would not be a consistent trail, right?
And if the story is that this is smoke from a fire, why is it coming out in two plumes?
Right. And why is it such a consistent stream? I mean, you would see plumes here and there, you would see gaps in it, you would see, right?
So you could even argue that this is too irregular to be to be what we see here. So I would actually probably decrease the randomness of the size and maybe decrease this even more.
But the smoke was not coming out of the engine, right? It was weren't these?
I believe that the story is that the smoke was coming out of the belly of the plane.
Yeah,
because the fire was in the belly of the plane.
But it does appear, based on the spacing of that smoke, that it's coming out of the engines.
Right. Yeah. Right. Engines. So
yeah, I never understood that part of it,
and it's not really explained either. So, there's so many nails in this coffin at this point. I'm not sure how we're still discussing it. But you can also change the randomness of the opacity. I still probably need to turn that down a bit. What I like to do is add a blur to those, because there's you can't really control too much of the feathering too much more within this plugin. So I'll add another blur.
Why would it be two streams? If it was the battery smoking, why wouldn't you just have one stream of smoke coming out of wherever the source is?
These are questions that no one seems to want to answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's essentially it. There's not too much more. I can switch back over here so we can see it in action. This is essentially what they did. Now, like you guys were saying earlier, it's entirely possible that this wasn't a 3D model because of the weirdness of the shape. So what could have been done is that they could have taken just a silhouette of a plane that they found on Google. Let's see if I can grab one really quick.
All I was saying was I was thinking it would have been easier. It would have been more effort to make it 2D than 3D because you could have used a model like you're doing.
Yeah, it's possible. So I think so. What I noticed is that it's possible that in the time between both of the videos releasing, the hoaxer may have just got access to the Jetstrike pack because there's not really any verifiable assets from the Jetstrike pack in the satellite version.
What was your point about the 2D plane in the satellite video, TJ?
It appears to me that they made the satellite video possibly much sooner than the other video. It doesn't seem to be made in exactly the same way. And there's enough
Yeah.
inconsistencies between the two that, that maybe they tried to match it after the fact or something. I'm not, really sure there. But the plane asset used in the satellite video is completely inconsistent with the 777-200.
Right.
But in the drone video, it is a 77200. So there's a divide there in terms of how it was made.
Yeah. And I think it's probably, I mean, just from, not to disagree with anybody, but just looking at all the all the terrible, work that was put into this, I'm going to say that somebody would have taken a shortcut if they had the opportunity. And if they had a 3D asset, if they had a 3D model that they could overlay in front of the image, they would have probably done it. But it is kind of crazy how the plane seems to change shape. So you may be right. You may be.
Yeah, the skewing of the plane, it seems very.
It's almost like it morphs. The shape morphs or something.
Yeah. So what I was gonna do was get a silhouette of a plane.
Kurt's asking. I think Kurt probably got here late. I think all of us agree that it didn't take much skill to make the videos. As a matter of fact, we've probably pointed out about 50 things that's wrong or could have been better.
It's surprising that it's been pushed as real for so long when there's so many different issues.
I mean, just to me, the photo, the background images, and the way the camera angle of the drone, to me, those are the most blatant ones. And then all these others just kind of falling behind it. Like, why would you have if the batteries are on fire, the batteries are all in a stack together, right? So you would have had basically one source for the fire. It wouldn't be apparently coming out of the engines, unless the engines were on fire. So the smoke is too consistent. I mean, you could probably go get a video of a plane smoking as it's crashing, and you would see what smoke looks like coming out of a plane. It doesn't look like contrails, right? So I was trying to summarize for Kurt. I think he just got here. But
I would say that the angle is it's closer to someone trying to, I guess if this was in 2.5D, I feel like the skewing angle makes more sense.
Oh my goodness! You just reproduced it. You just reproduced it. That's
all you have to do to make it seem.
And you put a little blur on it, and you got your.
Exactly.
You're right. I think you're right. I think you're right, TJ. So our theory is that the satellite video was produced first, and then later on they realized, oh, we have assets we can use.
Yeah, exactly. That's my hypothesis, and that's why it looks so strange.
You kind of tell in the drone video that the plane has some volume to it.
Yes, which I feel definitely it I don't know. It kind of evidences that they got the asset. And what's also funny is that this doesn't move, and it wouldn't move, I suppose, if it was really on the wing of the plane to begin with. But it just doesn't move, so it can just be an overlay. So that's another thing that reduces render time. Another thing that could reduce render time is this being this background being 2.5D, but I feel like the way that it zooms in is a little bit more.
I don't think 30.
To like video or something.
I don't think 30 King was here when we were showing this issue with the way the camera's showing the wing above it, and how the camera mount is out forward of the wing. The 30 King. You'll have to go back and watch the whole thing. We have some really good points based on where the camera is located on the drone. How you would not be able to see the plane, the wing of the drone. So,
but all you have to do then is just render this out with this large view, and then screen record yourself, just dragging around as it plays.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. I don't know if there's anything else you want me to demonstrate, but that's all I got.
I think we've done a pretty good job. I think the reason I wanted to do the show was because, like, people like us who work with this stuff every day, it's easy for us to see. But I think demonstrating it for people who are not in the industry, I'm kind of hoping that people who were kind of on the fence now were on the fence will jump off the fence and understand what they're looking at now. And it's to be honest with you, my eyes were opened a little bit from TJ demonstrating the fact that he thought it was a two-dimensional asset in the satellite video, because I was trying to imagine it being a 3D the whole time, right? And it didn't make sense. Now it makes sense to me that it's a two-dimensional object in the satellite video. So, yes, Vincent says, Cryshlee, you're a genius. And TJ is a genius.
The torrent for pirating. Oh wow. Vincent. Wow, the torrent for pirating Jetstrike went up between the two videos being uploaded. So then I feel like that's another nail in this coffin.
That's pretty wild, yeah.
Let's see, I just checked, and the torrent for pirating Jetstrike went up between the two videos being okay. There you go. I was hoping people in the chat would contribute in that manner. Well, tomorrow night, I don't know, are you all, how do y'all feel about the show? Do you feel like we've covered? Tomorrow night, I'm going to, if my other guest, hopefully he's still up for it, we're going to talk about Edward Lynn. And if none of this has, you two are invited again. You may be wore out, but I just want to invite you again if you want to come. But PiFi show number 101, I think it is going to be a show about things that someone that has more information than even, I think, the Horde has. Mm-hmm. So that should be interesting. So what do y'all think? What do you think? I think it was a great show. Do you have anything else?
Nope. I'm a bit feel like I've definitely shown all I have to show.
It is a movie. It is a movie. What do you mean it isn't a movie? We're all actors in this great thing we call life. Let's get philosophical at the end. There we go. It's a love song, baby.
I think that it also kind of maybe gives a little bit more weight to the idea that this person may have been a film student, so maybe they're not, paying money for these assets, especially if they're working with like a pirated version.
I'm gonna show one more thing if I could.
Yeah.
I think, and this will be kind of like a homework project, or something that people can interact with here, because there is one more thing that kind of stands out here. You want to put my screen up real quick?
Where's yours? What happened to your screen share?
Sorry,
Oops.
my bad. I pulled it down.
Okay.
There you go. Hold on.
Yeah, I think after dissecting this, there's so many points
There we go.
that it had to have been a rookie. I mean, I'm not criticizing the person that made them. I'm just saying it's kind of obvious.
So there's another detail that's kind of visible here. So the livery on this jetliner model does not match Malaysia Airlines at all, but it does possibly match some other ones, possibly a KLM livery, or there's a few other jetliners that have something that could be similar to this. So I think that these are actually letters here on the side of the model. You can, in some of the views, it's a little bit clearer than the others. Um, but I think that this is actually part of the livery on there's probably like a free model or something. It could be somebody's like kind of watermark on the model
Where are the letters supposed to be?
right here, 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 and here. So I
No, I
think
mean
that,
on the. We don't have an image of the real plane, do we?
oh yeah, let me bring up the Malaysia one, the Malaysia
Okay.
Airlines one. Hold
Yeah.
on. Let's see.
It just occurred to me I don't have an actual. Well, except for that little intro I did. That was AI produced too, so I'm not sure if that was an actual.
That looked right. From what I recall seeing.
At least it spelled the word Malaysia correctly. I
So
noticed that.
Malaysia Airlines is something like this, and you can see the striping goes straight across the nose. It
Does it
doesn't
have
dip at
those
all.
little? Can you zoom in a little bit on that?
And this one, sure. Maybe, there we go.
Oh, that's a building behind it. Okay, I thought it had a little fin sticking up on the wings. That's a building. Okay,
So yeah,
so
you got the
the
symbol back there. You got letters here, and then the lines are straight. At least across the front of the jetliner, they're straight. Now, when you look here, you see that line is diminishing below the nose, and then there's something here. I think these are letters.
I mean, isn't it wild this false color is added to because
I think it's more than that. I think you're actually looking at, and I'm not sure if it's necessarily this livery, like with an inverted color or something, but I think if we look, I think if everyone went and looked at liveries of jetliner models that were out there for the 77200, I think eventually someone's going to come across that skin.
when I say
Eventually,
false
they're going to come
color
across.
ISS, when I say false color, I'm saying that it's not a drone video. It's not from a drone.
Yeah,
But
I'm just talking about the model that was used for the jetliner here.
do you think this one's more accurate?
No, I think that what you're seeing here, this coloration, this line right here,
Am I?
these
Am I?
markings, these are
Can I
part
show?
of the. Oh, you switched off to something else. Okay.
I was just going to ask you. Do you think this model is more accurate, or about the same?
I don't know.
The reason I was bringing that up is the reason I think that they don't use at this point. My point is that at that point, if you're zoomed in, you should be able to see all kinds of detail. You should be able to if that's the scale of the plane that you're and it's even if you look at drone videos, even if it's white hot or black hot, you can still see the detail on it, right? The reason they didn't do that is because you would be able to see that it was a model. If you didn't
Well,
do what
I'm
they
I'm
did,
actually arguing that the model is seen, and if somebody can find the right one, they're going to find that the livery that's shown on the
where are
false
you?
color drone image of the
No, that's what I'm
jetliner
saying though.
is actually going to match something.
The
Somebody's
color
going to
and
find it.
the color and the distortion they're using is to hide the fact that it's a model. That's my point. Because if it was a real drone, and ISS can say this, okay, he can attest to this because I know who he is. I know him. A true drone video, we can go look up real drone videos, zoomed in that closely. You can see the details of the plane. You can see as if it were this image right here. I just pulled up. You can see it. And the reason that they put all this false color and the distortion is because it's a model. It's not it's not a real plane. That's my take on it. Right? If you're going to look at a plane in a just like the plane you showed from the drone, right? Go back to that Chinese jet. Okay?
This one?
No, go back to the Chinese jet one where it hits the drone.
Oh, the Russian
You can
jet?
freaking read the model number of the plane.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see a lot of detail. I don't have that one handy right now.
Even in the older drones. I mean, so for the next show, I'm gonna have some videos ready because I know where they are. I just have to find them. But there's no reason why you couldn't see more detail. That was the other thing that clued me into the fact that it was not real. Was that there's no Tony kidnapped the Lindbergh baby. All right, whatever, dude. We'll see if you. Never mind. Well, answer my question though, ISS. You've seen real drone, right? You've seen real drone videos. You know, you're just being smart. You're trying to be funny right now, but you know that if it was a real drone video, you'd be able to see all kinds of detail. Even if it was hot, white hot or black hot, whatever, you'd be able to see the detail of the plane. Why would we have military grade drones that couldn't make out detail? Right?
Yeah,
They
that's pretty
collect data.
reasonable.
They collect data. They collect that data on the type of plane, the model of the plane, its ordnance, what it's carrying. All that data goes into the database, right? You couldn't collect data if it was all fuzzy and out of color. You know, you couldn't see the letters you couldn't see Malaysia written on the side of the plane. It's just kind of silly. Anyway, people like I know at ISS know this. Other people who've been in the military know this. I don't know why they don't come and say, yes, dadgummit. But anyway, I guess I beat that horse. We'll go on.
That's a good point. There's probably some kind of communication restrictions or something, but
No, I think most people are just saying it's not worth dealing with it. You know, it's like I've tried to get some scientists and physicists to come on my show and talk about different things, and they're like, "I'll come, but I'm not going to talk about this or that. But I'm not going to talk about UFOs. I'm not going to talk about aliens or mummies in Brazil, right?" And this is in that category. This is one of those conspiracy theories that's in that stigmatized category.
definitely. And I can see why, like having seen the way this is like growing arms and legs on the other side of the discussion, I can see why people avoid it.
No, I can too, and I'm not. It's not like I'm not going to dwell on it for a year like the horde has. I want to do my shows, put them in the database, and I'll move on. Maybe do one or two more if somebody doesn't bail on me tomorrow.
Right.
But or if you all want to do, I'm up for that. I'm certainly not going to dwell on it. So, I mean, I think we all have to leave something behind, right? I want to leave behind that I think that I know that these videos are fabricated, and that's all I want to. That's going to be my mark on history. And when it's all proven to be fake, then they can make a statue of me and put it in Times Square. Right. Just kidding. I'm trying to be. Y'all are supposed to at least pretend to laugh at my jokes.
I'm laughing. My mic is just muted.
I think we need especially need a statue of Cryshlee. That would be the only reason to dox her, so we can get a statue of her.
Let's not. I don't want. Let's let me put on the record. I do not want a statue. Please do not make me a statue.
Okay. All right. We won't do that.
Same.
you're the ones putting out. You two are putting out very accurate data. So I'm just, I'm
That's the
all of
goal.
this.
You know, the goal
All
is
of this
to
is,
share the facts and get them out there so that it's
yeah.
indisputable. So that when people are armed with the right information and the understanding that it's definitely not real, 100% beyond a shadow of a doubt, and you can review it yourself, and you can review, all the details and all the information which shows it. I think that's something that that people need to have readily available, especially when you have the opposite of that. You have a pattern dissemination of incorrect information for a specific goal.
Let me ask you though, Kurt, who's creating the cruelty? Is it people like us who are trying to shed the truth on it, or is it people on the other side trying to create the hoax, the conspiracy, that aliens abducted their family members and teleported them to wherever? You know, none of it. I'm going to say that's the cruel side of it, right? Those families could have. It's been 10 years. Those people could have already mourned and moved on, right?
It's possible
But
that reason is the reason he didn't want to come forward, because he didn't want to face that kind of criticism. Like, why are you making light of this? Because people have speculated, like, why would someone do this? It's making fun of people who died, etc. And it's probably shame that caused him not to want to come forward.
you mean the person who made the videos?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm if I was the person that made them, I would come forward and say it was like you said, it was just a little project. It was a VFX project, and I didn't mean any harm. I certainly didn't mean for them to be hijacked and be used in some conspiracy theory. But it's actually a good point to people out there who have the idea of making this kind of thing in the future. You might want to think twice about what you're doing. Especially with AI, the onslaught of AI. I can just give it a prompt. You know, Malaysian Airlines. I actually did that to make some artwork for that. And it did a pretty good job. I didn't say have alien orbs abduct the plane, but I could have. And with Sora coming out through OpenAI that can do lifelike video, you see what I mean? You see where I'm going with this? It's going to be an endless flood of hoax videos. So if we can show people that it's not a good idea, to reenact real life events, and have them hijacked and have people live in agony for years and years thinking their
I
family
mean,
members might still be alive somewhere, you know.
I think that again, it could have been a student, it could have been someone who's immature. I don't think it's right for it to have been done, but I also don't think that us proving that these things are hoaxes will prevent people from making hoax videos in the future. I feel like people will always
You're
try to
right.
do that. But it's important to provide this kind of education so that people aren't as easily fooled and maybe don't take it as seriously. And if we stop giving so much attention to it, people will, naturally stop feeling motivated to do it. But I don't think that's likely. I feel like hoax videos will always be a fun pastime for some people.
It's frustrating for me because I'm in a stage of my life where I don't have anything to lose. If I had more power, right, to put into this, because I live alone in the woods. I own my own business. Nobody can get me fired. Nobody's gonna stop hiring me to build things just because I'm making videos on YouTube. You know what I mean? Some of us are at a different place in life, but we don't have any real power. We don't have any clout in the community, and so that's frustrating to me when somebody like Jonas won't come forward and really, you know. I understand why he won't, and I understand why others won't come forward. But this could be put to sleep. This could be put to bed so easily.
It's
Well, I
done.
think I think Jonas came forward and he said everything really that he needs to say at this point. And he
I,
did
and
it right away. He did it
I
up
didn't
front.
mean to. I didn't mean to include Jonas in that because I think he's done his part. His video's still up explaining the videos. I didn't mean to include him. I'm really talking about people who could put this to bed really quickly.
Yeah.
You know, so there are people in the military and the intelligence community that could just wipe this out in an hour, but that's something that's befuddling me.
Maybe, but it's also one of those things where, like, what would they say? Would they just come out and say, "Yep, those are definitely fake"? I mean, how much detail do they need to go into, right? So if they don't go into enough detail, people are going to say, "Oh, well, it's just a cover up." If they go into too much detail, they're going to say, "Well, why are you working so hard to cover this up?" So it's a tough spot. Like, this is one of those things where, like, imagine what one Ashton Forbes would say if the government came out and said none of this was real. Immediately, he would just say it's
I'm gonna have to
cover up.
go back and zap his name now. Go ahead. We weren't
But
going to mention him. Go ahead. Sorry.
it's one of those deals where, you know, you can put all the information out there, and at the end of the day, people are going to choose what it is that they want to believe. The best thing you can do is just get as much of the facts out there as possible. And unfortunately, it's, because the lie is being shared so many more times, repetitively on a daily basis. Um, you know, y- it was put to bed when the videos first came out. In the UFO forums and places where these videos were posted, they were called out as fake right away. And then it resurfaced, some years, like 2018, it resurfaced. They were called fake again. A year ago, they resurfaced and they were called fake again. So, and now again, they're kind of resurfacing, and it just has to be called out. Unfortunately, it has to be called out every time because there's somebody who comes along and believes it. So if you don't give them both pieces of information, then um, you know this is what you get. This is what happens.
All righty. That's a good closing statement, I think. I think you're right in some sense because look at the flat Earth cult. I mean that you could take each one of those cult members and fly them out in space and see the sphere that they live on, and they'd go back home and say it was flat.
Yeah, super weird. Again, a lot of things you can point out. Like, we have GPS systems. The GPS satellites orbit the Earth. They use those, relative orbits and everything to communicate navigational data.
This is one of those things we could go on all night about this, and it's that
Oh yeah.
I now you're convincing me that this is all just a waste of time. I'm sorry. You just made me have PTSDs over trying to convince
Oh no. Oh no.
PTSD flat earthers that the Earth is a sphere. Oh my goodness. What a life we live in. All right. Well, gotta love the ice wall mafia. Yeah, I guess somebody has to entertain us when we're bored on the internet. Well, thank you guys. Again, I hope my guest tomorrow night comes through for me. I like him. He's a good guy. He's got some insider knowledge. I think that's just I'm speculating. I think he does, and he has a lot of information ready to give us about the Edward Lynn case, and that should be good. And that's why I didn't bring it up tonight, because I wanted to reserve it for then. But you two are invited if you're not worn out, or if you want to join us, we could have a different subject matter. It might be a nice change of pace. Talk about something else if you want to join us. So you're invited. But thank you
Awesome.
guys. I really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, of course.
Let me move all this
Definitely, yeah. Thanks for inviting me on.
stuff off so I can say bye properly. Thanks again, And I think you said it, TJ. I think you kind of nailed it. So we'll leave it there, and I will see you guys on social media, where we will continue on.
Yeah.
Sounds like a
Definitely.
plan.
Y'all have any words of wisdom to head us out?
Yes, please learn things on your own. Don't listen to us, don't listen to any one person. Go and use your search engines. Learn about the topics that are being talked about, so that you can't be misled. That's my word of advice.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
awesome.
If somebody says only listen to me, probably shouldn't listen to them, maybe at all.
Run the other way if someone says only listen to me.
I mean, I celebrated my 45th year in the AEC industry. I even created a patch to celebrate it. It's called 2045, 20 years of business, 45 years in the industry. I still hate saying that because I don't think it matters. I don't even think, right. And I tell my apprentices, be a student your entire life, right? Just continue learning. No matter what you do, just keep that attitude. Never stop learning. Never stop seeking to learn. I'm even embarrassed to say that I've been in the industry for 45. I should know more. I should be smarter. If I've been, you see, so it's almost embarrassing to say I've been in my industry that long. And I think that's the way we should be. We should continuing to learn. And that's why I do these shows, honestly. I invite people who are knowledgeable at what they do, and I hope to learn from it. And I have learned from you guys. It's been awesome. And I hope to continue to see you as we go along.
Absolutely. Thanks for inviting me on.
Thanks,
A
guys.
pleasure.
What you are about to see is a real life story. The accounts have gone into great detail to give each side's version of this an exclusive one, we understand. One of the most talked about